Oh, welcome into the midday show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Ray Dunn, hanging out with you for the next 4 hours. Sean Rodman producing the program today on this Football Friday, leading into Eagles, Rams, the rematch of the best that we saw in terms of competitive games in the postseason last year, and one of the best in terms of regular season games we saw a year ago. Both those things due to the Saquon Barkley factor last year. But a rematch of a postseason game last year that, to me, we talked about this yesterday with Amy Fadul, was a closely contested game. For a lot of people, you remember it as Saquon running through the snow and let's all relax. And yeah, they ended up getting close, but that was garbage time. I can't echo those sentiments. It felt like a close game. I was nervous to the very end of that game. There are a lot of people like, yeah, once I saw Saquon start slapping his helmet, I knew that game was over. I'm not quite there. But we're not here to relive last year, even though we will probably a number of times throughout the show today in getting ready for this Rams game. We're here to look towards Sunday. And it's going to be, I'm not a big weather guy, but I looked. It should be a beautiful Sunday there, 1 o'clock down there at the Link. For a lot of you, it's the opportunity to get your Sunday back. All right, the first game at the Link this year, Thursday night, just a different feel. This Sunday, 1 o'clock, very weird looking at this slate this weekend, that this is a 1 o'clock game. I know that going into the season, all these networks try and project what they think things are going to look like. This was a very easy one to just put on Sunday Night Football. Chiefs-Giants, I hope that all of you stay up late Sunday night for that one. But I'll move aside from the television here just for the matchup that you're getting this weekend. And it's interesting the way we feel about things as the week goes on. If you remember a week ago, I sat here and I was telling you, as this week keeps going on, I just keep getting more and more confident. I went into Chiefs week with, it's a revenge factor. It's Mahomes. It's Reed. You got to feel a little bit concerned about that. They're at home opener. Are they really going to start 0-2? All those intangible things. That's what I was thinking about leading into Kansas City at the start of the week. By the time we got to Friday, I was like, well, to hell with that. And honestly, forget my W's and L's projections from May. When I look at these two teams, one's clearly the better team, and that's the Eagles. They're going to go out there. They're going to get a victory on Sunday. That was how I felt last week by the time we got to Friday. There was a considerable change in the way I looked at that game from Monday to Friday. And then we come into this week, and obviously we've talked about the passing offense a ton. And spoiler alert, that's coming up in the next 4 hours. We've talked plenty on a national level about the Tush push. We've all rolled our eyes here locally at the fact that we have to keep relitigating this, but it's been a talking point this week. We've definitely already looked at what it's going to be for that secondary against Matthew Stafford, and we'll get into all those storylines. But there's this underlying insecurity that I'm trying to figure out today as it relates to this game. Because I think for a lot of people, this was a victory on the schedule, and we all looked at September. I shouldn't say we all. I'm not going to assume for all of you. I looked at September as a challenge. Just coming into the season, the emotions of Banner Night being the first game, then going to Arrowhead for the rematch, then getting the Rams here, then getting the Buccaneers. I looked at September as a challenge. I thought there were 2 wins in September. Not 2 wins in the first 2 weeks the way they've gone. I thought there were 2 wins in September. But this was a game I thought they would be able to win, and that they would be in a good position to win. And I think coming off of the win on Sunday, there's questions about the team, but I felt like there was more security going into this game. There was more confidence going into this game than what I felt and heard kind of creep in throughout the week. And I'm curious where that comes from, and I'm curious for you to give me your input on where the insecurity for this weekend comes from at 610-632-0975. Because there's a few things about the Rams that stick out, that you're looking at this game and saying, yeah, all right, that could be a place they get you. For me, I mentioned yesterday how close I remember that postseason game being is a nice reminder of just how close I think this Rams team was. For a lot of the summer, I thought this Rams team was going to be your biggest competition in the NFC. Just because I think they have plenty of talent offensively around a future Hall of Fame quarterback in Matthew Stafford. I think their defense is young and improved, certainly from what it was a year ago. And not that it was bad a year ago, but it's certainly gotten better. I think they made a very concerted effort to try and get better against the run. We'll see if that actually pays off for them in the long run. And I don't know if it'll pay off for them this weekend. But I think this is a really good football team that's coming in here this weekend for the Rams. And reminding myself how close it was a year ago, you expect a good game. But I'm curious for people where the insecurity comes from. Is it the idea of this passing game for the Rams going up against a secondary you don't believe in, which is really just a second cornerback that you don't believe in, that you think they're going to be able to expose Adoree Jackson to the level that ends up costing the Eagles this game? Is it your disappointment in the offense that leads you to this, where you're like, well, I haven't seen the offense do what I want them to do yet, so until they show me it, I'm not going to trust it? Where is that level of insecurity that's come? Because I feel like people, as the week has gone on, I've seen more people start to waver on this than I anticipated. More people move off that secure feeling of, hey, this team's going to win. Heck, we played for you this week the Rich Eisen clip of the air of invincibility that seems to surround the Eagles. We're talking about invincibility on Wednesday and talking about potential loss on Friday. I want to know where the insecurity is, where we go from invincible to, well, maybe not this week. Because I feel good about this weekend. I'll be honest with you. I haven't had much of a mindset change throughout the week. The three things that I'm watching in this game, Jalen Carter's impact from the interior of that defensive line against the interior of that offensive line for the Rams. That's a place where, if you remember the game-changing play, the season-changing play at the end of that divisional game, I think we all remember that play, all remember him blowing up that play. That's, I think, indicative of the impact that he can have against the interior of this offensive line. That's one thing for me. If he's a game wrecker in that way, moving Stafford off his spot, I understand he's not a 37-year-old statue. He still can move a little bit, and he's done a really good job of moving himself around in the first two games of the season. But if you're able to get that interior pressure and blow up a couple of their big-time shot plays, that takes a lot of pressure off of Adoree Jackson. That might be the difference in what you watched with two good wide receivers week 1 against this Eagles defense and two good wide receivers in week 3 against this Eagles defense. On the other side of things, the Rams' choice of run stopping versus helping out mostly on A.J. Brown, because he's got Emmanuel Forbes probably on him this week, and that has been an absolute feast for him before. If you remember Forbes from the Commanders, he is now one of their top defensive backs. They had to place their top one on injured reserve earlier in the week. If they sell out to stop the run and you've got one-on-one with A.J. Brown and Emmanuel Forbes, we're in a good spot. A couple of those 50-50 balls that Hurts threw up there to Devontae Smith, you give the opportunity for A.J. Brown to beat Forbes, I think that's a really good recipe for this team to win. If they sell out the way they did last year, stacking the box, even though Saquon ran all through them, stacking the box against Saquon, if they try and sell out, you probably have that opportunity there. And to go back to the Eagles' defense here, I think a big thing is going to be the discipline of the middle of the field, the rookies, whether it be Campbell, Makuba, and also just the way that they end up shadowing Puka Nacua moving across the formation because of how much they use motion and what that can do to this defense specifically, getting them moving. Those are the three things I'm looking for in a game that I feel pretty confident about. I understand we have our concerns about what the offense can be. I understand that we have concerns about where the secondary matches up with Matthew Stafford, with this Rams offense. I just think we talked earlier in this week about the invincibility factor of this team. This team does have a way about it that just elevates them over the competition in this league. And at home, a Rams team coming across the country that, yeah, they looked impressive in a second half against the Titans. But overall, what have they shown you that's way over anything else in the National Football League? They haven't been the overwhelmingly impressive team like we've seen, people would say about the Bills or even last night, which we'll get into at the bottom of the hour, where it's just some fun narrative stuff that we could talk about with regards to the passing games that you watched last night on Thursday Night Football. To me, they don't have this intimidation factor for me that other opponents would. I respect McVay. I respect Stafford. I respect what they've built there, and I think that they are still the favorite out there in the NFC West. But overall, for me to start to feel insecure about this team would be more my insecurity on the Eagles. I've got questions about the Eagles. I've got concerns when it comes to the matchup. But this team has earned my trust time and time again over the last 2 years. They've proven a number of things to me, and for me to say that, I feel insecure about this game, would be me lying to myself from what I felt earlier this week when we were talking about the way this team just continues to find ways to win. So I want to get to that insecurity with you at 610-632-0975. Where's the insecurity come from this matchup specifically with the Rams? Because there are a lot of people that feel concerned about this one. And there's also a number of people who cover the team that have given you justifiable concerns, including Olivia Reiner, who we spoke to yesterday from the Philadelphia Inquirer talked so much this week about the Eagles' offense. How about this defense and the way it matches up with Matthew Stafford? Olivia got into that with us yesterday. We'll play that for you. Coming up next, we address Stafford versus the Eagles secondary. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Philadelphia is a sports city full of passionate.
I'm giving more credit to the architect. I'm giving more credit to Howie Roseman because I firmly believe that in 2023, when you saw that defense really struggle at linebacker, in the secondary at safety, James Bradbury fell off a cliff, I don't think it would have mattered who the defensive coordinator was. I don't think it would have mattered if Vic Fangio was here. They tried Sean Desai. They tried Matt Patricia. They had a significant lack of personnel that I think contributed to that being one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Then they hire Vic Fangio, and Fangio comes in here, and before the season, he was asked, what makes your defenses so good? And his response, good players. And you just look at Howie Roseman's last few drafts of defensive players. This time, he gives them Jahad Campbell and Drew Makuba. Last year, he gives them Quinyon, Cooper DeJean, Jalix Hunt. The year before, he gives them Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Maro Ajomo in the 7th damn round. And the year before that, Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean. Not to mention the free agent signing of Zach Bond mixed in here. I'm giving him a majority of the credit. As good as Fangio is, and we love you, Vic, it's got to go to the architect.
I think that's cute on your part. That's really cute. Going right to the architect, your buddy, because he hangs out with you, with your uncle. I think that's really cute.
Wait. People used to say Sirianni was my cousin. Now he's my uncle.
He's your uncle.
Now he's my uncle. I think we're the same age.
Yeah, I was going to say they're about the same age. That don't make any sense.
Okay, brother. How's that? Is brother better?
Yeah,
brother.
I'm actually Jay Sirianni.
I think the whole point is he's your interest. How's that?
Or
he's
you could
of
just
your
say
interest.
he is your family member.
Yes, family member. Good.
Interest sounds a little bit like romance related.
See, you love him. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Which is
make your
fine.
point. Make your
You go
point.
to Howie Roseman. Okay, fine.
He's a good-looking guy.
Howie has drafted well. I don't take anything away from you. Let me bring up Zach Bond. Remember that guy came over? Outside linebacker, right? Am I right or wrong? Outside linebacker.
That one you got to give Fangio credit.
Outside linebacker who he made a standout star as a linebacker.
I'll give you that
inside linebacker, as a matter of fact. And who told us he was going to be inside? Vic Fangio did before even putting him on the field. Why? Because he looks at tape. He understands players. He knows where to put them. He knows where to put them in situations where they're going to do well. Oh, by the way, you drafted Cooper DeJean. You drafted Quinyon Mitchell. You're going to sit there and tell me when Howie drafted these guys that you said, those dudes are going to be starters this year. They're going to be unbelievable. They're going to be the best ever. Did you say that? Was that your thought process?
I was excited about him, but I did not expect him to acclimate this quickly.
So why?
Listen,
because it's on
coaching.
Howie. Because
solid
Howie
coaching.
drafted them. They should be the best players in the world. Yes, it is solid coaching. As a matter of fact, Vic has a very good eye for his players. He understands where to put his players to make them the best at their possible positions. He understands how to get the most out of each and every one of his players. And you know what? He's not afraid of these players, which makes them respect him. It's Vic Fangio. It's his defense. It's the way he sorts these guys and puts them where they need to be.
Here on 97.5 The Fanatic, I'm Ray Dunn, and just ask you today, where's the insecurity in this game for you? Where do you find the most insecure feelings about what's going to happen against the Rams on Sunday? Because we have had an interesting week of talk, mostly about the offense. It's funny, we have Tim McManus coming up at 12:55, and he wrote about the offense today, and he also was a part of the reporting for ESPN about the Tush push and about how the officials are going to call it more closely. And those two stories pretty much wrap up the story, I think, of this week. One nationally in the Tush push, and one locally where we're all like, all right, yeah, you guys keep figuring out how you feel about the Tush push. We're trying to figure out how we feel about this offense. And that leads into, I think, where a lot of people feel insecure about this team right now because you haven't seen them put it together offensively. And it's funny the lens in which I watched last night's Thursday Night Football, given the conversation we've had this week about the offense. But before we get that, the defense, Adoree Jackson might have been the person grateful the most for the conversation about the offense this week. Had the offense looked good last week, we would have spent the entire week concerned about the matchup of two great receivers on the other side against this secondary. So Adoree Jackson's probably sitting there in his locker like, yeah, you guys keep going over there. Keep talking to AJ. Keep talking to Saquon. You guys stay over there, you know? I don't really need this conversation to be about me and about this secondary right now. Ja'Cory Bennett's like, hey, you guys keep having that conversation. You know, that entire secondary is like, yeah. The offensive guys, that's where the scrum should be right now. That's where the media attention should be right now. But we spoke yesterday to Olivia Reiner of the Philadelphia Inquirer, covers the Eagles. And she talked about the concern she has in this game. And it's out now on Inquirer.com. So I can now say that she's picking the Rams. She's got the Rams in this game. She alluded to it yesterday. She's taking the Rams to win 28-27. And part of it is the concern that she has with Stafford against his secondary. Take a listen to what Olivia had to say to us.
This was a really entertaining divisional round game last year, and it came down to that very final drive. You know, Matthew Stafford really carving up the secondary until Jalen Carter was able to pretty much blow it all up for them. It was a huge play, and now the Rams are coming in looking for their revenge. And based on what we have seen from this Eagles team, I would say the defense has fared really well so far in two games overall. The offense has some catching up to do. Perhaps Sunday is the day where they can start to separate themselves a little bit and to generate some more explosive plays. I think the big concern that I have is Stafford and this Eagles secondary, even, up front, generating pressure on Matthew Stafford, too, is going to be critical. He's a really accurate, efficient quarterback when he is kept clean, and that's the big keyword. So can the Eagles do a good enough job generating pressure up front? Can they be sound in the secondary against these, a few very talented receivers? I have some doubts. For now, I'm going with the Rams for this game.
So you heard there some of the concerns that Olivia has, and I'm asking you where people feel the most insecure about this matchup with the Rams at 610-632-0975, because I've had that feeling that the city and the people I talked to leading into this game, there is more of a sense of insecurity. I felt like the build-up to the Chiefs game was more of I'm getting more confident as this happens. And for the more people I talked to this week, I'm starting to feel a little less confident going throughout the week. And maybe it's because we have honed in so much on the concerns offensively, or maybe it's just because you just feel that type of way about the defense, the way Olivia points it out there. And a couple of things that stick out to me defensively with the way this game has to go. I already outlined it, 3 things I'm looking for. Jalen Carter and what he's able to do in that interior throw. Moro Ajomo in there. He had the late sack in that game against the Chiefs. The talk all summer was how great a summer he's having right there next to Jalen Carter. The two of them really have to show up in a big way against that interior of the offensive line to not allow the big plays to develop for that team. The other thing, we talk about the second corner spot, and I understand Adoree Jackson will be in the spotlight here for what it is. We had Jeff Mosher on Tuesday, and he talked about the different ways through 2 games that these cornerbacks have been deployed in Quinyon Mitchell and Adoree Jackson. And if they go back to week 1, the way that they played in week 1, he would expect that you see Devontae Adams and Quinyon Mitchell as the matchup, and then would it be Adoree Jackson and Puka Nacua. Now, the interesting thing about Nacua is how much he lines up in the slot, which begs the question. In practice, they've told us a number of times that in base defense, you've seen Cooper DeJean outside just throughout training camp. And then, every time I feel like it happens at practice, it's notable. People report on it. They've asked Fangio. He said, no, they don't plan to play him outside. But if you want your best 11 out there on the field, he's a part of your best 11. I'm interested to see, with just the amount of motion that this offense of the Rams tends to do, if there is a mirroring impact of DeJean and Nacua, given the fact that he spends so much time in the slot anyways, and that's where you end up having Cooper DeJean. If that ends up being more of the saving grace for this defense than anything that Adoree Jackson could do. If that ends up being more of the plan this week, because that could mitigate it. Obviously, I think we all feel pretty much more secure in what DeJean can do for you than Adoree Jackson. And with that, I mentioned one of the other things I'm looking out for this game defensively is just the discipline against the motion. To Vic Fangio's credit, If there's been one person in the NFL since McVay's been a head coach that's been able to slow down Sean McVay, it's that guy. And that's been a big equalizer for this team. And go back, because obviously the last 2 games last year were both Fangio's defensive coordinator. Go back to one of his disciples, and I'm going to say this name, and in a week where we've mentioned one 2023 coordinator a ton, this name is not the one we've mentioned, but I'm sure it'll send a little shiver down people's spines. Sean Desai. You remember that game against the Rams in 2023? That defense that ended up just imploding by the end for the Eagles allowed 2 touchdowns to that Rams team. It was a 23-14 win for the Eagles in that game back in 2023. I think that was when they improved to 5-0. I believe on what was then the pregame show. So the 9 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning show, in which I did at the time, we formed the Decisement, where we were all Desai believers there following that game. Because how could you not? Obviously, we understand how you cannot be now. But that Fangio, again, the Fangio disciple there was even able to slow down McVay's offense. Fangio himself has done a good job against McVay's offense. McVay knows this. It's one of the more reasons why I come into this with a sense of security in this matchup and why I'm a little bit more confident than I feel like what I've been at least had reflected back to me from a number of people this week. Because they have had a really, really stout game plan against McVay offenses in the past. But I'm curious for you at 610-632-0975. We'll get to some of the engagement here on the way people feel, where the insecurity comes from this week. And I mentioned Tim McManus reporting on the Tush Push. Coming up, ESPN story confirming what we all thought was going to happen after last week. We'll get into the latest on the Eagles' unstoppable play that we're all just honestly at this point realize we're watching the end of it. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
All right, so our first question for DeCecco here comes from Colin from Philly, and he says, how do you think the Eagles will try to match up with the Rams wide receivers? Will they let Quinyon Mitchell travel against their number one or keep him on one side?
Yeah, I don't think you can travel with this team because they move around so much. So that was something that I looked at going into this and how they utilize Puka and Devontae Adams. And Tutu Atwell, by the way, is a really good vertical threat, undersized receiver who can beat you deep if you kind of sleep on them. But, yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to be afforded that luxury this week.
All right, what else we got?
All right, this texter asks, after watching how open some of the Chiefs receivers were, do you think the Eagles defense will be able to cover down the middle of the field against the Rams?
Yeah, good question. I mean, the Chiefs receivers didn't get, they didn't really uncover as well as you might think.
There was the collision course play, but
and then the one where Thornton won on the 49-yarder. But I think they should be able to cover up the middle of the field. Zach Bond and Jihad Campbell have done a really good job of plastering that second level. And Drew Makuba, I think, the rookie who had the interception that led to the turn in the game that John talked about yesterday. Yes. I do believe that he's continuing to build off of each game and get better the more he plays. So he's playing with a lot of confidence right now as well.
Take us back, your thoughts on the Thornton play. Just summarize it for people. I had a couple people asking here about how did you consider that bad coverage? I didn't.
No. Quinyon, it looked like Quinyon had to get back over, and he still almost made the play.
Correct.
But it just goes to show you, and that's why I wasn't overly as confident in the Eagles being able to pull that one off, because you have to account for Patrick Mahomes and being able to make things happen.
Sure. All right, what else we got?
All right, we have a check-in here from John in Allentown who asks, we know there's a question about the route tree for receivers, but what are you seeing specifically with the concepts? Too basic, too long developing? What's your take on that?
I love that question.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think they're a little bit.
Guy.
Great question.
I think right now they're a little bit more on the basic side, a little simplistic, but they were designed for Jalen to get the ball out of his hands based on the pressure that they were facing at the line of scrimmage. I think that's going to change moving forward. Now, the Rams do have a fast-flowing defense with a lot of younger players like Jared Verse, and they have Fisk and Byron Young. So that's something that to keep an eye on.
Who was that, Connor? Did that person put it down?
That was John in Allentown.
John in Allentown. Notice he saves that text for Ask football guy, Andrew DeCecco.
I appreciate the question, John. Thanks.
He didn't send it at 6 a.m. to us.
It's amazing. We have an Andrew and a John on the show, but
He
Andrew
saves that,
DeCecco's
yeah.
football guy. That's football guy John on the text line.
That's
All right,
amazing.
We got time for one more. What we got?
All right, so Joe checks in. Joe from Schwenksville, one of our winners of the Wendy's gift card.
Wow,
Hey,
good
at
job,
7
Joe.
o'clock hour. And he has a question as well. He wants to know if you thought that the Eagles were being too careful in their game planning against the Chiefs to just try and cut down turnovers, and that could have led to the offensive unproduction.
Yeah, Joe, it looked that way to me. And again, when you're in that kind of environment, it's Kevin Patullo's first game on the road calling plays. The Eagles were the better team. At that point, you don't want to, you become a little bit more risk averse. So, yeah, I think that had a lot to do with it.
All right, so our first question for DeCecco here comes from Colin from Philly, and he says, how do you think the Eagles will try to match up with the Rams wide receivers? Will they let Quinyon Mitchell travel against their number one or keep him on one side?
Yeah, I don't think you can travel with this team because they move around so much. So that was something that I looked at going into this and how they utilize Puka and Devontae Adams. And Tutu Atwell, by the way, is a really good vertical threat, undersized receiver who can beat you deep if you kind of sleep on them. But, yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to be afforded that luxury this week.
All right, what else we got?
All right, this texter asks, after watching how open some of the Chiefs receivers were, do you think the Eagles defense will be able to cover down the middle of the field against the Rams?
Yeah, good question. I mean, the Chiefs receivers didn't get, they didn't really uncover as well as you might think.
There was the collision course play, but
and then the one where Thornton won on the 49-yarder. But I think they should be able to cover up the middle of the field. Zach Bond and Jihad Campbell have done a really good job of plastering that second level. And Drew Makuba, I think, the rookie who had the interception that led to the turn in the game that John talked about yesterday.
Yes.
I do believe that he's continuing to build off of each game and get better the more he plays. So he's playing with a lot of confidence right now as well.
Take us back. Your thoughts on the Thornton play. Just summarize it for people. I had a couple people asking here about how did you consider that bad coverage? I didn't.
No. Quinyon, it looked like Quinyon had to get back over, and he still almost made the play.
Correct.
But it just goes to show you, and that's why I wasn't overly as confident in the Eagles being able to pull that one off, because you have to account for Patrick Mahomes and being able to make things happen.
Sure. All right, what else we got?
All right, we have a check-in here from John in Allentown who asks, we know there's a question about the route tree for receivers, but what are you seeing?
Welcome back. Midday show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Ray Dunn. Take you through it here. Getting you ready. Eagles, Rams this weekend down at the Link. Got pregame duties. I was about to say it'd be great to get back out there for a tailgate. I nearly forgot. That would have been bad. Connor Thomas driving home right now. He's probably got the Mustang top down, just enjoying the beginning of his weekend. If you're listening, Connor, I remember now. I will be there for pregame. It's a different world. I've done postgame for so long. Sean Robin producing the show. Sean, I've done postgame not even for so long, but just all last season. That my mind was like, yeah, I'd probably go get up early Sunday morning, go say hi to some people down there. If I do that, Connor Thomas is in a tough spot.
Yeah, well, if you do that, and didn't Connor also forget earlier in the week, or was that last week? He said, have a good weekend, see you next week.
No, he forgot that I was on pregame.
Oh,
he walked out of here yesterday like, won't see you guys till Monday. Have a good weekend. And I was like, dude, we literally have a pregame content meeting like today at 4. The two of us with the bosses here. Like, all right, man, cool. I get it. It's the Connor Thomas show. And I guess I'm just along for the ride.
I guess he probably would have been fine in that since you almost forgot anyways.
Maybe that's a good point. Maybe it's him trying to send me a message. It's like, don't show up.
Yeah, maybe that was him
message
telling you
received.
to go to a tailgate.
Yeah, message received on that one. So we'll see. Tune in 10 o'clock Sunday morning to see if I'm here for the pregame show. There's a tease for you. What we've gotten into early, I feel like there's been a wave of insecurity. From invincibility to insecurity might be the story of the week. We played, obviously, the Rich Eisen clip for you earlier in the week talking about the air of invincibility that seems to surround the Eagles, and it permeates from his mind from the Tush push. And now I feel like there's some insecurity with this game this weekend, and I'm curious to flush that out, see where that is for people at 610-632-0975. But speaking of the Tush push, before we get to your feelings on this game, Tim McManus, who will join the program coming up at 12:55 today, reporting in a story that came out on ESPN last night that the NFL said the Eagles should have been flagged for at least one false start when they used the Tush push against the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday, and have instructed officials this week to call the controversial play tight going forward. Message came from the league, first reported by the Washington Post, later confirmed by McManus and ESPN. Came in its training tape to officials, which was distributed to all 32 teams on Wednesday. So, the NFL is doing exactly what we anticipated. They are going to push for this play to be officiated tighter, which means it's going to be officiated because for all the arguments you want to have about, well, they're offsides. I watched a Chiefs player punch at the football before it was snapped. I don't know about you, Sean Robin, but the neutral zone is supposed to be neutral. That's not neutral right there. That's you entering the neutral zone.
Yeah, I actually think it's on both sides. Whether it's the Eagles potentially having those false starts, or if you have the 49 or not the 49ers, I don't know why that just popped in my head. The Rams.
I mean, same division. Good call.
Yeah, I guess we're
talking about a marquee matchup. Usually, when we're talking about an NFC West marquee matchups, 49ers can
another 2-0 team as well. But anyways, the Rams this weekend, they could be lined up in the neutral zone. I mean, you mentioned the Chiefs.
Here's the thing, though. You say that. Both of us can say that.
Both of us could say it, but we know which one it's going.
We know where they're looking at this. The NFL does not like this play. The man that runs the National Football League, the commissioner, has said as much. He does not like this play. We are not going to be the complain about officials guys before we get to complain about the officials. I got to complain about the fact that Dean Blandino is an official that doesn't want to officiate. I can complain about that. But they're going to officiate this. They are going to try to mitigate the tush push because they want the play out of the sport. And if they can make it where every time you line up for it, it's 4th and 6, or a good percentage of the time you line up for it, you end up in 4th and 6, they're going to feel good about themselves. We're getting this rugby play out of our American football. I don't agree with it, but I know what's happening. I don't think anyone in Philadelphia feels like, oh, yeah, this is good. Yeah. No, now they're going to start calling things on the defense, too. No. We all realize that they have to be very clean in their execution of it because there are eyes to them now at this point that it's going to be officiated in a way that removes it from the sport because they wanted to remove it from the sport. They just didn't get the votes. Tough look there for old Roger Goodell on that one. Now he's got to resort to this. But getting back to the game itself, ask you where your insecurity comes from in this game on Sunday. Eagles, Rams down at the link. Let's go talk to Yuri out in Port Richmond. Yuri, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, what's up, fellas?
How are you?
I'm doing great. So I think when McManus come on and talk about it, I think that the only way you can get the tush push out of the league is for it to continue to be successful. So I think that they will officiate it properly, both offense and defense. But if it start to become down from 90-something% down to 80-something or 70-something%, I don't think they can have a good argument to take it out of the league. So,
well, here's the flip on that, Yuri. Here's the flip on that. If it becomes less effective for the Eagles, are the Eagles less inclined to run it?
Yeah, but that means you still keep it in the league. I honestly, truly believe that 2 votes short, I think they're going to get those 2 votes at the end of this season, and they're going to get it out the league. But the only way that will work if the Eagles continue to be successful at it. But I just want to move on to my insecurities about the Rams. I think that no team can continuously beat the same team over and over and over again. I think if the Eagles do win this game, it'll be because of the flight that the Rams had to take to Tennessee, then back to LA, then back over here to Philly, that will be, and obviously the Eagles are the better team on paper, but I think that McVay is such a great coach that he'll get up for the Eagles, and if that flight doesn't have any impact on them, I mean, it doesn't mean that they won't beat them in the playoffs, but the Eagles fans need to understand. We started 1-2. They thought the world was coming to an end last year, and look, we turned it around. In all honesty, we should be 1-1 right now if that interception doesn't happen in the end zone. But the Eagles fans probably will still think the same thing, and we probably could go 1-2 against the Rams if they lose last week. But relax. I trust Fangio.
So you're hitting me with a little bit of the preemptive relax. You're basically saying when Monday comes around, don't be freaked out.
Yeah, like I think that you got to understand, we keep beating the same teams over and over again. It's not just going to keep going. We got to lose one to these teams we're undefeated against.
I see where you're going. Here's the thing, though. They've won 19-20. To say they have to lose one of these at some point, the one they lost was the one where Hurts didn't finish the game. There's a reason why we talked about the era of invincibility. Since they had that bye week last year where they started to change the philosophy of the teams from, hey, here's what we thought we were going to do to open up the season, to now we're more run-based, to let's just win the turnover battle, that defense starts to improve. Since that time, they've been nearly invincible. So they have to lose one of these games at some point. I mean, yeah, like I don't think we're talking about a 17-0 football team. I don't think necessarily that we're going to stop the Dolphins as 72 from popping champagne by the end of the season. At some point, there's a loss, but are we not confident in what this team is? I mean, yeah, they could have lost last week. They also could have beaten the Falcons last year if Saquon catches the ball. And we all were freaking out at 2-2. We were talking about this team at 2-2 a year ago. It could have been 3-1. They weren't. Just like they could be 1-1 right now. They're not. Part of the reality of football. So I see where you're coming from in terms of trying to calm me down here already before it happens. But that's like a little defeatist mentality there. And that's why I want to get to the insecurities about what we feel. Is the insecurity just they have to lose at some point? I can't believe that they'll win this because I'll just expect a loss. Also, we got to take care of some business from last night. Two things from Thursday Night Football that snuck out. Al Michaels, sneak dissing. He dissing us? Plus, the offenses last night. Something stand out to you the way it stood out to me? I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Fanatics.
All right, so our first question for DeCecco here comes from Colin from Philly, and he says, how do you think the Eagles will try to match up with the Rams wide receivers? Will they let Quinyon Mitchell travel against their number one or keep him on one side?
Yeah, I don't think you can travel with this team because they move around so much. So that was something that I looked at going into this and how they utilize Puka and Devontae Adams. And Tutu Atwell, by the way, is a really good vertical threat, undersized receiver who can beat you deep if you kind of sleep on them. But, yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to be afforded that luxury this week.
All right, what else we got?
All right, this texter asks, after watching how open some of the Chiefs receivers were, do you think the Eagles defense will be able to cover down the middle of the field against the Rams?
Yeah, good question. I mean, the Chiefs receivers didn't get, I mean, they didn't really uncover as well as you might think.
There was the collision course play, but that was...
And then the one where Thornton won on the 49-yarder. But I think they should be able to cover up the middle of the field. Zach Bond and Jihad Campbell have done a really good job of plastering that second level. And Drew Makuba, I think, the rookie who had the interception that led to the turn in the game that John talked about yesterday. Yes. I do believe that he's continuing to build off of each game and get better the more he plays. So he's playing with a lot of confidence right now as well.
Take us back, your thoughts on the Thornton play. Just summarize it for people. I had a couple people asking here about how did you consider that bad coverage? I didn't.
No. Quinyon, I mean, it looked like Quinyon had to get back over, and he still almost made the play.
Correct.
But it just goes to show you, and that's why I wasn't overly as confident in the Eagles being able to pull that one off, because you have to account for Patrick Mahomes and being able to make things happen.
Sure. All right, what else we got?
All right, we have a check-in here from John in Allentown who asks, we know there's a question about the route tree for receivers, but what are you seeing specifically with the concepts? Too basic, too long developing? What's your take on that?
I love that question.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think they're
That's
a little bit.
football guy.
Great question.
I think right now they're a little bit more on the basic side, a little simplistic, but they were designed for Jalen to get the ball out of his hands based on the pressure that they were facing at the line of scrimmage. I think that's going to change moving forward. Now, the Rams do have a fast-flowing defense with a lot of younger players like Jared Verse, and they have Fisk and Byron Young. So that's something that to keep an eye on.
Who was that, Connor? Did that person put it down?
That was John in Allentown.
John in Allentown. Notice he saves that text for Ask Football Guy Andrew to check
I
out.
appreciate the question, John. Thanks.
He didn't send it at 6 a.m. to us.
It's amazing. We have an Andrew and a John on the show, but
He
Andrew
saves that,
DeChenko's
yeah.
football guy. That's football guy John on the text line.
That's
All right,
amazing.
We got time for one more. What we got?
All right, so Joe checks in. Joe from Schwenksville, one of our winners of the Wendy's gift card.
Wow, good job.
What's up, 7 o'clock hour. And he has a question as well. He wants to know if you thought that the Eagles were being too careful in their game planning against the Chiefs to just try and cut down turnovers, and that could have led to the offensive unproduction.
Yeah, Joe, it looked that way to me. And again, when you're in that kind of environment, it's Kevin Patullo's first game on the road calling plays. The Eagles were the better team. At that point, you don't want to, you become a little bit more risk averse. So, yeah, I think that had a lot to do with it.
Welcome back into the midday show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Ray Dunn hanging out with you. Talk about the insecurity you feel this weekend for the Birds game. I just got a sense over the last couple of days. It's been from invincible to insecure, really. Rich Eisen earlier in the week talking about how this team looks invincible, and I feel like this town has got a little bit more insecure about the way they feel about the football team going in this game against the Rams. Yuri, who just called in from Port Richmond, saying that he thinks that Fangio's got a solid game plan, but when you look at this Rams team, you can't just keep beating the same team. I mean, they've beaten up on the Rams going back to Doug Peterson. I mean, I remember we had those conversations. Peterson, McVay's obviously lasted a lot longer. I think those conversations could be put to bed. But McVay, Sirianni, it's 3-0 in the column of Sirianni. I mean, they've been able to take care of him. And I brought up that name. I know the coordinator that hasn't been talked about from 2023. We've talked a lot about Brian Johnson, or at least heard his name a lot this week. We didn't talk about Desai. The side of things, they still hold him to 14 points back in 2023 when, again, that was not a good defense. We found out very quickly by the end of that season just how bad it would get. And it's interesting to see the different ways they've been able to beat them. We'll get into some of the historical matchup coming up here. But I want to get to the text line here. People chiming in at 610-632-0975. What do we got, Sean Robin?
All right, let's start off with the Tush push. One person checking in saying, I wish they'd have banned the Tush push already. I'm tired of the nonstop complaining. If and when it's gone, the Eagles would still run an incredibly successful QB sneak.
So, I don't want to say it like this, but I don't wish they'd already banned it. I wish everyone would just grow up. Is that the best way to phrase that?
I think that's fair.
I wish everyone would just grow up. It's here. The Tush push was not banned. It is here. They are going to continue to run it. I understand when they pointed out in a national broadcast of false start that everyone's going to lose their mind and that everyone wants to look for the thing that's made the Eagles the most successful. And it's a very easy, short bit for people to look and say, well, they've got this unstoppable play. That must be what makes them click. I don't know. 16 of the last 17 games, they've turned over the other team. I'd venture to say they've won the turnover battle in most of those games. They've got all-world players on offense. And while we've spent all week talking about what this offense can be, the talent there offensively can't be denied. Defensively, they have one of the best defensive coordinators I've ever watched operate. Potentially at the peak of his powers with what he did last season and what we kind of project out he's doing right now. And in their front office, they've got one of the best executives in sports leading the way. I get it. People can point to the play and say, well, look at the advantage it creates, yada, yada, yada. Let me use science here to explain it. They can't stop it, da-da-da-da. To me, it wasn't even that effective last week. They converted 5 of 7. That's below the percentage they usually. Like, you really need a stronger argument for me than that's what's winning football games for them. Because if you think that's what's winning football games for the Eagles, I think you're severely, severely underrating what this organization's become, the talent on this football team, and what this team is built to do. Like, I'm sorry. This team takes your soul not just because of the tush push, just because they're going to out-physical you. Like, we've seen that. So I feel kind of odd saying grow up to an entire, like, media landscape when it comes to the tush push, but it is kind of grow up. Like, it's here. We could talk about how it was officiated last week. We could talk about the fact that there was the actual officials analyst on the broadcast saying he's tired of officiating it and what it does to the officials, the bind it puts them in, how they should officiate it. But the constant complaining, whining, and crying about it, and then us reacting to the complaining, whining, and crying about it, it's a nonsense cycle that I'm kind of sick of. And it's a cycle that we went through in the offseason when they were talking about banning it, cycle we went through last year. It's here. Deal with it. Okay? Sorry. If you think it's the driving factor of success for the Eagles, I would tell you there's a lot that's driving their success. You don't win 19 of 20 just because of one one-yard play. You win 19 of 20 because you've put the entire foundation in place for a successful organization. They do this really well. To win a Super Bowl, you got to do a lot of things really well. I understand. We talked about this earlier this week. They've become the it team. There has to be something about them that people hate. There's a smug head coach. There's a quarterback that speaks in, that speaks his way, in his Hertzisms. And there has to be a reason that's unfair why they're winning, and people want to go to the tush push. I mean, I don't know. Get better. Find your own unstoppable play. Anyone complain that when Allen rolls out of the pocket, he's going to find a way to pick up a first down? Like, I don't know. It's driven me nuts that we keep having this conversation over and over and over and over and over and over again. But we're talking about it because it's what people are talking about. What else we got on the text line?
All right. We also have Sean from Cinnamons checking in. He's more confident on this game, so I don't know if this will help you, but he says, when people talk about the Rams, I just don't see what they're talking about. They are an okay team. They have a good team, but they aren't this powerhouse. Some make them out to be. Eagles win by 10 because they are the better team. Stafford is a statue. Make him move. Rams defensive line will be shut down again by our O-line.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big things that's been the difference. The Eagles controlling the line of scrimmage, whether it be getting after Stafford or whether it be, obviously, the running game. You know, the number of stacked boxes that Saquon faced last year against the Rams, and he still had the success that he did. I think that's been a big differentiating factor between these two teams. I still think this Rams team is very good. I came into this year saying I thought they were going to be the team that competes with the Eagles the most. I backed off that in August. When everything was going on with Stafford and his back. And then the Packers obviously get Parsons, and I think now I've definitely changed my feeling to the team that's most likely to compete with the Eagles in the NFC is that Packers team. But it's not that this Rams team isn't good. It's just that the Eagles operate at a level that's just elevated than the rest of the NFC. And they've really done a good job in the past, especially Fangio against McVay, of taking care of business against them. I think that's really my cause for security, my cause for comfort on this Friday when it comes to these two teams. Now, I mentioned, while I'm talking about national talking points that tired me, Al Michaels, sneak this in the birds on Thursday Night Football. I promise you that audio. We're going to play that for you coming up. And the quarterback play on Thursday Night Football. All right, let's be honest here. I'm not talking about Tua, and I'm not going to take away from Josh Allen, but a certain stat out of Thursday Night Football that goes to the conversation we've had about the passing offense here in Philadelphia. We'll get to that coming up next. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Dallas Goedert could return this week. I'm Sean Rodman, and Dallas Goedert logged another limited participation in practice yesterday after he did not practice at all last week, missing the Week 2 game against the Chiefs. Tanner McKee and Will Shipley were both limited at practice yesterday as well. And after being limited yesterday, or on Wednesday, I should say, Jalen Carter was a full participant yesterday. Nick Sirianni will speak to the media prior to today's practice. He's scheduled to speak at 11:50. We'll carry that live for you here on 97.5 The Fanatic. The Eagles host the Rams in a playoff rematch at 1 on Sunday. The Philadelphia Inquirer's Olivia Reiner joined the midday show yesterday, and she has one worry for the Birds' defense.
I think the big concern that I have is Stafford and this Eagles secondary. Even, up front, generating pressure on Matthew Stafford, too, is going to be critical.
The Phillies are back in action tonight in Arizona after the day off yesterday. Taijuan Walker gets the start for the Phillies, and he will be followed by Walker Buehler. This is to align the starters for the postseason and to see Buehler out of the bullpen. Ryan Nelson gets the start for the Diamondbacks tonight. His first pitch is at 9:40, and this update is brought to you by Discover. Do you know what's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide? You guessed it, Discover. You guessed it right based on the February 2024 Nelson Report. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And let's go there with the passing offense, because it was a lot of our conversation yesterday with, hey, fantastic to get that win in Kansas City. A really good job of going on the road against the reigning AFC champs where they were in a desperate spot. Great job getting that win. But that passing offense right now, not where you would, I guess, expect a team with the talent they have to be. What are you seeing right now in this passing offense that needs to be corrected most?
Yeah, corrected is a tough word. Let's first go to the root of what I hear a lot of people saying, and I just myself don't believe it to be true, and that's just not my opinion. I've watched the tape. I've been fortunate to watch tape with some really smart people, former football players, former Eagles who've helped school me on things to look for and concepts. Greg Cosell is a part of our Inside the Birds family, and he's one of the top tape breakdown guys in all of the land, right? And the first thing you're looking for with new offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo is he doing something different? Is he trying to add something to this offense that it's not catered to do? Is he not suiting it to the strengths of his personnel? And I can definitively tell you that the offense conceptually is built and looks and is designed the same way it's been for the last few years. So the idea that it's Kevin Patullo's fault and he's doing something that the other guys weren't doing is completely false. Now, I'm not saying he's flawless, and obviously he's 2 games into the first time as a coordinator, and so there's a feel for a game. There's an understanding of when to call certain plays at the right time, and that's something that is developed along the way. And clearly, Kellen Moore came with that already, whereas Kevin Patullo didn't have it. Brian Johnson 2 years ago didn't have it at the NFL level. So I understand sort of people saying, oh man, this reminds me of 2 years ago. But the difference is they have Saquon here, and conceptually they are keeping things the same. So when Kevin Patullo is calling a certain play from his menu, that menu isn't all that different from the menu of last year and the year before, because the Eagles understand this better than anyone because it's their building and their players. They understand what their offense should look like, how it should run, what is the best way to run it. They're not like a team that runs like 1,000 different route concepts and route designs. They do what they do really well. They run the ball typically, and then they try to get the shot play that Jalen Hurts likes so much. And so when you ask what's corrected, Ray, he took about 4 or 5 deep shots in the game against the Chiefs, but only one of them connected. Obviously, it was the most important one to Devontae Smith, but he missed Devontae earlier in the game on a similar one. He missed A.J. Brown on one that kind of I think he got hit, or there was so much traffic in his face. You might remember it was pretty early. It floated. A.J. actually caught it out of bounds and got hit, and everybody thought it was a late hit. There were about 4 or 5 plays that you typically see him and Brown and Devontae connect on that in the first 2 weeks just haven't been there.
And let's go there with the passing offense, because it was a lot of our conversation yesterday with, hey, fantastic to get that win in Kansas City. Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live in the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through the show today, getting you ready. Eagles, Rams coming up on Sunday. Looking forward to joining Connor Thomas on the pregame show Sunday at 10 a.m. Be sure to tune into that. Speaking of things happening this weekend on the station, about some Flyers training camp for you. Bill Colarulo is going to be out in Voorhees for a special Flyers preseason broadcast this Saturday. That's tomorrow, right around this time, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Fans invited to attend training camp at the Flyers Training Center in Voorhees for a free event. Plenty of your Flyers favorites back in action. Getting coached by the first time, of course, by Rick Tocchet. Enjoy games, giveaways, and prizes. The Flyers merch truck appearances by Gritty and more. Go to the events page at 975thefanatic.com for all the information. Billy C, getting you ready for the football weekend with a little hockey going on tomorrow down there in Voorhees. Look forward to that. Speaking of the football weekend, and get you started. Last night, I caught this in real time. I don't know about you, Sean Robin. I don't know if you were tapped into Thursday Night Football. I spoke yesterday about my lack of interest in last night's game. I will say, credit where credit is due. The Dolphins kept me engaged through the entire game. Might have been because for the game, I'm in this pool where I got to pick a loser every week instead of the winner pool. You pick a loser, which I'm ashamed to say it. Did not realize that until very close to the deadline, Sunday of the first week of the season. I thought I was picking a winner.
Oh boy.
Yes, and then I realized, loser pool here. You got to pick a team to lose every week.
Who are you going to have as the winner?
I picked the opposite of what I would have. I was going to just go Commanders of the Giants because I felt like that was a week 1 lock. So then I switched it over to the Giants and picked them to lose. Week 2, I picked the Browns to lose. And this week, I got the pick in on Thursday because I wanted
the
Dolphins. And I'll say there for a second, woo! But I was sitting there like, the Tua mistake's coming. The Tua mistake will happen. It will happen. So I was locked in pretty much throughout. I think I got to the game a little bit late. Was listening, was following along with it from like the first drive for the Dolphins, and then from that point forward, I was locked in at home watching the game. And I caught this live. Did you catch this live?
I did not. I was kind of watching in and out, wasn't paying fully attention to this game at all points last night, so I missed this last night.
So Al Michaels, they cut to him and Kirk Herbstreit in the booth. They're talking about how much fun it is to watch Buffalo Bills football. Josh Allen, it's just the best. They're so entertaining. This team, what have they done so far? You remember they came back from being down multiple scores week 1. Just absolutely love watching Buffalo Bills football. That pretty much was the love story. And I get it. Josh Allen's a lot of fun to watch. I'm not going to take away from you. But they then go into this, basically throw a little jab at the Birds by saying, this Bills team, at least they're interesting to watch, right?
Some teams are good, and they're not particularly interesting. The Buffalo Bills have really become a great team to watch. They are.
They're not particularly interesting, some of those good teams. The Bills are a fun team to watch. Were we just dissed?
I think so.
I feel like that was a direct shot at the Eagles.
It feels like a direct shot, especially because of what we've seen the first 2 weeks out of the Eagles. It hasn't been pretty. And I know they have the Eagles coming up in, 3 more weeks against the Giants?
So that's why I would ask him the question. You've called a lot of terrible Thursday night football games. Would you prefer Giants-Bears instead that Thursday night? Would you prefer Giants-Browns that Thursday night? Not enough storylines for you with the reigning Super Bowl champions? Yeah, a little bit of a shot at us. No? Am I supposed to be offended by that? Should that bother me? I mean, that's a legitimate question for you guys out there. Should I let that be a little bit of a shot at Philadelphia? Because you say, again, interesting. And it was the point of the conversation yesterday. Is this team interesting? I don't know. They've got the most interesting play in football. Oh, no, it's a rugby play. I can't stand watching it. Yet you're talking about it all the time. Yet it's leading every show. Yet every time they line up for it, people are locked in to watch it. This is an opportunistic defense which can change the game and has changed both games to start this season with big-time turnovers. And while we haven't seen this offense play to its potential yet this season, they got all-world talent all across the field. Am I supposed to apologize for this team not being interesting enough? Seems plenty interesting, especially from the broadcast side of things. If you're talking about being a broadcaster for going into an Eagles game, you're salivating this week. The storylines are right there for you. You don't have to do any sort of work. If you're the play-by-play guy for the Eagles game this weekend, it's not, what can we dig up about this team? There's plenty of interest there. Al, come on. I was, taken aback by that comment during the broadcast. I was like, oh, really? Not interesting? Huh. I don't know what you consider interesting. I consider it pretty interesting. Now, also in that Thursday night game, I don't know if any of you caught this after the game. Next Gen Stats. Uh-oh. Going analytics here. I just lost half our audience. But Next Gen Stats tweeted something out. That Josh Allen and Tua averaged 1.5 air yards per completion in that game, which is the lowest in the Next Gen Stats history. So 2016, I believe, that's when we got that nice revelation that changed the way we watch football. 1.5 air yards per completion. Josh Allen attempted one pass over 10 air yards. Are we going to lead to an outcry across the NFL over what we watched last night? Are those offenses broken for you? No. They got the running game going. They got explosive plays in the running game. James Cook had a really good job running football. And, hey, Allen ended up scoring 31 points. But it's just funny to me to see it happen to someone else. Because there was a part of me during that game, I was like, it's not that it's looked bad here. It's not that it hasn't, it's not that it's looked poor for the Bills. But I was like, through the second half, they start getting slowed down. Like, early on in that game, remind me early on in that Cowboys game, like they're making things happen here. Early on the Cowboys game for the Eagles. Like they're making things happen here. They're getting down the field. They're taking what's given to them. All right, that's good. Second half, they start to get slowed down by the Dolphins. I was like, wow, that's surprising. I didn't expect that from Dolphins defense that's been nothing first couple weeks of the season. And an offense that's led by probably the best quarterback in football right now. Don't expect that. Don't expect to see that. But is it a problem that they only took what was given to them in that game? And leave Tua out of this, because I said it earlier. Tua, I was waiting for the critical mistake. It was coming. But Josh Allen, and the number of passes behind the line of scrimmage, the number of short passes where you're trusting, hey, this guy's going to make a move, make something happen for you. I'm not arguing that there's, something between these two. I've been very clear about the core four, and that I believe that the Allen, Burrow, Mahomes, Jackson 4 is elevated above Hurts. Anyone else, we can start to have a debate with Hurts. But it is interesting to see one of the golden children, I don't know, golden boy, the NFL, in a game where the air yards weren't there, where we're talking about taking what was given. It was interesting to watch on a Thursday night after the week we've had about this passing offense, because ultimately they get the win. If you were someone that bet on the Bills last night to cover, they did not. If you bet some of those over in passing props and some of those types of things, maybe you didn't get what you anticipated. But I was just curious the way people reacted to watching that last night and the lack of downfield passing, or at least success in passing the football. Because, again, according to Next Gen Stats, 1.5 air yards per completion. That ain't a lot. It's not a lot. It's the fewest since we got Next Gen Stats back in 2016. And I'm curious how watching that type of offense relates to the offense that you've watched the first 2 weeks. Not that I think the Eagles are ahead of some curve here in changing the way that we should throw the football, because I still want to see the passing offense open up. I still want to see them, really try and get things moving down the field. But to see other teams struggling with it early, it was like, my team's 2-0. life might not be that bad, passing offense-wise. I might be able to enjoy it. Coming up, I see we got some people chiming in on whether or not I should be upset. We were dissed by Al Michaels on Amazon last night, Thursday Night Football. This is a good team that's at least interesting. I find a lot of things interesting about this Eagles team. What are you going to find interesting about this weekend? Looking at the rest of the NFL slate, I heard the boys talking about it this morning. We've talked about it this week. One man makes his return as a starter in the NFL. I saw him listed as a journeyman. A journeyman quarterback. That's what he's called nowadays. Oh, man. Are you in? Are you out? Also, the rest of the slate this week. Are you in or are you out? Is this the perfect weekend for you to just focus on the birds and have yourself a Sunday? I'll explain that coming up next. I'm Ray Dunn. Take you through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Kincade and Sal.
And let's go there with the passing offense, because it was a lot of our conversation yesterday with, hey, fantastic to get that win in Kansas City. A really good job of going on the road against the reigning AFC champs where they were in a desperate spot. Great job getting that win. But that passing offense right now, not where you would, I guess, expect a team with the talent they have to be. What are you seeing right now in this passing offense that needs to be corrected most?
Yeah, I mean, corrected is a tough word. Let's first go to the root of what I hear a lot of people saying, and I just myself don't believe it to be true, and that's just not my opinion. I've watched the tape. I've been fortunate to watch tape with some really smart people, former football players, former Eagles who've helped school me on things to look for and concepts. Greg Cosell is a part of our Inside the Birds family, and he's one of the top tape breakdown guys in all of the land, right? And the first thing you're looking for with new offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo is he doing something different? Is he trying to add something to this offense that it's not catered to do? Is he not suiting it to the strengths of his personnel? And I can definitively tell you that the offense conceptually is built and looks and is designed the same way it's been for the last few years. So the idea that it's Kevin Patullo's fault and he's doing something that the other guy.
I'm giving more credit to the architect. I'm giving more credit to Howie Roseman, because I firmly believe that in 2023, when you saw that defense really struggle at linebacker, in the secondary at safety, James Bradbury fell off a cliff, I don't think it would have mattered who the defensive coordinator was. I don't think it would have mattered if Vic Fangio was here. They tried Sean Desai. They tried Matt Patricia. They had a significant lack of personnel that I think contributed to that being one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Then they hire Vic Fangio, and Fangio comes in here, and before the season, he was asked, what makes your defenses so good? And his response, good players. And you just look at Howie Roseman's last few drafts of defensive players. This time, he gives them Jihad Campbell and Drew Makuba. Last year, he gives them Quinyon, Cooper DeJean, Jalix Hunt. The year before, he gives them Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Mauro Ajomo in the 7th damn round. And the year before that, Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean. Not to mention the free agent signing of Zach Bond mixed in here. I'm giving him a majority of the credit. As good as Fangio is, and we love you, Vic, it's got to go to the architect.
I think that's cute on your part. That's really cute. Going right to the architect, your buddy, because he hangs out with you with your uncle. I think that's really cute.
Wait. People used to say Sirianni was my cousin. Now he's my uncle.
He's your uncle.
Now he's my uncle. I think we're the same age.
Yeah, I was going to say they're about the same age. That don't make any sense.
Okay, brother. How's that? Is brother better?
Yeah, I'm actually Jay Sirianni.
I think the whole point is he's your interest. How's that?
Or
he's
you could
of
just
your
say
interest.
he is your family member.
Yes, family member. Good.
Interest sounds a little bit like romance related.
See.
Welcome back. Midday show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Ray Dunn taking you through it. Coming up, just so you're ready, you're prepared for the rest of the show here as we get you ready for Eagles Rams. We'll have the head coach of your Philadelphia Eagles meeting with the media at 11:50-ish. I mean, if you've tuned in enough at this point, times are approximate. Around 11:50, he will speak with the media. Now, one person that's always on time, ESPN's Tim McManus, that's 12:55 for you today. We also have John Price, Sports Information Traders, getting you some picks coming up at 12:30, so look forward to that as well. And I'll have my plays of the week. Sean Rodman, do you know what my record was last week?
Your record? I don't remember the last one, but were you perfect score last week?
No, not at all. That's the point of this segment. You want to fade what I have.
I remember you at least had, I think it was 2 correct.
No.
It was only the 1?
Yes.
With Cup?
Yep, Cooper Cup was all I got right last week.
Ooh.
Yeah. Backdoor Bryce Young, brutal. The Cardinals were in control of that game all game long. Panthers come back, brutal. That hurt.
I forgot about that.
And the Cowboys apparently wanted me to know they're on the same level as the Giants. Couldn't cover a 4.5 spread at home against the New York Giants. So, yep.
Well, that's
1
why
for 2 last week.
That's why you told everyone not to.
That's
to
why I
fade
said
your picks.
this is Raised Plays is more of a fade segment than a featured segment, if you know what I'm saying here. So we'll get you that coming up at 1:30, plus our predictions obviously for this Eagles game, which I feel confident about. I feel like there should be a little bit more security in this town with the way we're talking about this team right now. It's a 2-0 team that's won 19 of 20. And you can have concerns, and they're justifiable on both sides. Concerns for the Eagles and concerns on what the Rams could do. But a little more confidence, please. Jeez, wait. But I realize I might ruffle some feathers playing that Al Michaels audio. So I'm curious how people feel. Was Al Michaels taking a shot at Philadelphia? Because I was immediately like, yo, that's us. He's talking about, it's the it's DiCaprio meme. You're looking at the television, you're pointing right at the television. Whoa. That's me. I felt like that's who he was talking about. What do we feel on the text line? 610-632-0975.
We have a number of texts, different variations of what they took out of Al Michaels. One person just texting in saying, you should not be listening to those fossils.
Oh, come on. He's a legend.
Another person texting in, Bills are interesting to watch because their defense stinks and always keeps the other team in the game. One more, Kevin texting in saying, you're right, Al. There are great play-by-play guys, but there are some that are fun to listen to. This is also the guy that fell asleep during the playoff game last year, who sounded bored when the Jaguars came back.
All right, so Al Michaels, and this, I'm shocked. Philadelphia audience does not like national play-by-play guy. More at 11.
One more, Alfie actually in Abington, not fully against Al Michaels. He says, damn well Al didn't even have the Eagles on the brain. Every single team's offense has been less than interesting the first 2 weeks. Accurate blanket statement from Alfie.
I guess. Maybe not. Maybe Alfie's, Alfie definitely doesn't think he's talking about the Lions. I can assure you that. Alfie's, still celebrating the 52 points from last weekend. I don't know. That's immediately it goes to the anti-Al sentiment, which is obviously there, and I understand people that have gotten to that point with Al Michaels. But I felt like he was going anti-Philadelphia there. It was more of a, yo, man, come on. Like, you got Eagles-Giants in a couple weeks I'm hoping isn't interesting. I'm hoping that it's very, very mundane game. What do we got in terms of confidence on the text line?
All right. A couple of people, I would say, are pretty confident in this games. This one person is Kevin in Hamilton checking in as well. He says, I can't believe most people has us losing, mostly because of the cornerback position or because there's a sense of another team wanting to get the best of us because we beat them multiple times last year. That's not a champion's mentality. I don't know who wants to come in and get the best of us. Nope, we're the best. That's championship mentality. We need to start having that. The Rams, come on. Eagles will dominate this game, especially in the second half, 27-10. Birds.
Wow. All right. I like that. I like the energy there and the confidence. It is interesting because we're going to talk about it every week. Like, I don't know. Should I start blocking it out every week, a segment to talk about how this team wants to get back at the Birds or how this team has a target on the Eagles' back? Like, I feel like that's almost just plug and play every week. I guess next week we're not going to be talking about that. Next week, should we be talking about how the Eagles want to get one back on the Buccaneers because the Buccaneers beat them last year? Like, that to me is... I understand why people are saying it. I understand why people feel that way, but you could say that about a Super Bowl champion every week. Everybody wants to be the Super Bowl champs. The Buccaneers come into that game next week 3-0. They want to show that they're the best team in the NFC. They're going to want to feel that way. This week, Rams come here. They want to get back for the last time they were here. I don't know. How are you going to find that for the Broncos? Broncos want to prove they're one of the best teams in the NFL coming up in a couple weeks. The Giants want to get back at the Eagles for everything, for the fact that Saquon left won a Super Bowl. I'm sure there's a little bit of resentment within that building of probably people who like Saquon but are sick and tired of being the punchline of a joke. Like, we could build that storyline week in and week out. I like the confidence there, Kevin. Thank you. Kevin and Hamilton?
I believe it's Hamilton, yes.
Yeah. Great train station there, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for taking care of us. This weekend, looking at the NFL slate, I'll be honest with you. I don't know how much you've looked at the non-Eagles games this weekend. It's not exactly like the most entertaining weekend of football that they've ever put together for us. Monday night will be good. Lions-Ravens.
Bengals-Vikings doesn't interest you with the backup quarterbacks?
So that's a 1 o'clock game, and we're going to get to that one.
All right.
That's a 1 o'clock game. So, like, outside the Eagles slate, which is, I phrased it going into break, like, is this a weekend, like, for you that tailgate, I know Salciunas talks about this all the time. Like, the people that, like, go down to the link, tailgate, and, like, by the time you get home, you've missed all of football. Like, if you get there and start tailgating, like, 8 in the morning, Sunday, get yourself fired up. Game at 1. You don't get out of the lots until probably halftime of those 4 o'clock games. And then you have to get yourself home. So you're really not home probably by the end of those 4 o'clock games. This might be the perfect weekend to do that. I talk about this week the impact of sports media people and like Dan Lebitard in the See or No segment at the end of his ESPN show. Broncos Chargers. I could be intrigued. I know our guy Brandon in the back there, 4 o'clock, fine. Saints Seahawks.
No.
Pass. Cowboys Bears.
No.
I mean, for the
Cowboys, yeah,
for
but
the pure
not.
Cowboys factor, but it's not like a must-watch game. Cardinals 49ers, a matchup of 2-2-0 teams that, like, I
It depends if Purdy goes.
guess. I don't know. It's a slate that I look at 4 o'clock, and I'm like, yeah, I could have interest in the Broncos and the Chargers because, Herbert, Bo Nix, that's a divisional game, could be good. Saints Seahawks, no interest. Cowboys Bears. We talked last week about the Giants-Cowboys mid-off. Like this, that kind of feels like what this is. Also feels that way for Cardinals 49ers. Like 49ers were a team to me that could be the paper tiger team of the year where they stack a ton of wins, but by the time they come to the postseason, I'm not worried about them. The Cardinals, all I can think about is pew-pew, explosives, Jonathan Gannon and all that crap. And then the Sunday night game, Chiefs-Giants. You excited for Sunday Night Football?
No. Not even in the
Monday
slightest.
Night Football is going to be great.
Monday Night Football is
I'm
going to be
excited
awesome.
for Monday Night Football, but this is like one of those weekends where, like, if you're just like the diehard that goes to the lots for the Birds and like you make your entire Sunday the Eagles, I think this is a weekend where you win. Because there's not like to me, it's not like the marquee 4 o'clock. Maybe I should have more interest in Broncos Chargers. The NFC games, the 3 of them, none of them really scream to me like, yeah, I gotta be totally locked. I'll be honest with you, I will probably be locked into Cowboys Bears. But it's not because I feel like I have to watch. It's because I have to watch. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I can't say that the Bears don't really do much for me to be interested in.
Yeah, but I guess it's a hate watch thing for us.
Yes,
like,
it's
just
more so of a hate watch.
Rooting for the Cowboys to be 1-2 is pretty much what I'm going to get out of that one. All right, you mentioned that 1 o'clock game, Bengals Vikings. Can you find it in your heart to root for Wentz?
I mean, I don't think I really have a rooting interest in that game, to be honest. If I'm rooting for anyone, it's going to be rooting for the Bengals because I think the Vikings, NFC conference type of thing. Not that I think the Vikings will be at the top of their division at the end of it, but it's more so of a conference thing that I'm rooting for the Bengals, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in the game you're rooting for the Vikings to lose, but just in Carson Wentz, like, I'll be honest with you, I might be a bad person for this one. Cynically, I'm rooting for, Carson to play hero ball and I think it'd be, entertaining for me. Maybe I'm a bad person for that one. Thanks for what you did for us, but like you also contributed to the downfall following that, and I still remember that. So like appreciate what you did for the Super Bowl, but like I don't necessarily have to root for you. If you do well, tip of the cap. I'll be happy to tip the cap to you, but part of me thinks it'd be kind of funny.
See, I don't even know if I even have a rooting interest at all to whether he does poorly or good or well. I don't really have anything that I'm like, oh yeah, he did such a great job getting this team in a good position in 2020 to eventually reach a Super Bowl, what is that, 2017 versus 2020 when they had the poor season, I should say.
Yeah.
I don't really feel that way necessarily towards Carson Wentz. He's more so like, that's in the past. I don't really have to. I'll be watching because I'll be intrigued.
I'm not going to be like every pass like throw it to the other team, but like if he does, I'm not going to pretend like I'm not sitting there with a little bit of a laugh.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, if it does happen, I'm not going to, like, who knows? Maybe in the moment there is a bit of a laugh, or I'll tip the cap if he plays well.
Kieran on our YouTube chat. I'm rooting for Wentz. There, I said it. I'm not. I can't get myself to do that. Maybe it's not a hate watch for me, but it's not a, come on, Carson, let's roll it back. I'm not going to get there with that. Just be honest with you. All right. While we're sitting here talking birds, real quick, coming up, I do want to get into the other team in town that has a series this weekend. Real quick look at one, where we've been with the birds, reset the show for you, but also two, this weekend out in Arizona. How much is left for this Phillies team? Like, how much is there really left on the table here? NL playoff picture. We talked about the drama in the postseason, what's not there. How much is really left for you this weekend to figure out? We'll get into a little bit of how little there is. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Dallas Goedert could return this week. I'm Sean Rodman, and Dallas Goedert logged another limited participation in practice yesterday after he did not practice at all last week and missed last week's game. Tanner McKee and Will Shipley were both limited at practice yesterday as well, and after being limited on Wednesday, Jalen Carter was a full participant. Nick Sirianni will speak to the media today, scheduled for 11:50. We'll carry that live for you right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. And the Eagles host the Rams in a playoff rematch at 1 on Sunday. The Philadelphia Inquirer's Olivia Reiner joined the midday show yesterday, and she has one worry for the Birds' defense.
I think the big concern that I have is Stafford and this Eagles secondary. Even, up front, generating pressure on Matthew Stafford, too, is going to be critical.
The Phillies are back in action tonight in Arizona after the day off yesterday. Taijuan Walker gets the start for the Phillies, and he will be followed by Walker Buehler. This is to align the starters for the postseason and to see Buehler out of the bullpen. Ryan Nelson is scheduled to get the start for the Diamondbacks tonight. First pitch is at 9:40. This update is brought to you by King's Hawaiian Sliders. Eli Manning reminds you there's nothing like football and King's Hawaiian Sliders. King's Hawaiian Sliders make you a winner on game day. Pick them up this weekend in the bakery or deli section of your local grocery store. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I'm giving more credit to the architect. I'm giving more credit to Howie Roseman because I firmly believe that in 2023, when you saw that defense really struggle at linebacker, in the secondary at safety, James Bradbury fell off a cliff, I don't think it would have mattered who the defensive coordinator was. I don't think it would have mattered if Vic Fangio was here. They tried Sean Desai. They tried Matt Patricia. They had a significant lack of personnel that I think contributed to that being one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Then they hire Vic Fangio, and Fangio comes in here, and before the season, he was asked, what makes your defenses so good? And his response, good players. And you just look at Howie Roseman's last few drafts of defensive players. This time, he gives them Jahad Campbell and Drew Makuba. Last year, he gives them Quinyon, Cooper DeJean, Jalix Hunt. The year before, he gives them Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Mauro Ajomo in the 7th damn round. And the year before that, Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean. Not to mention the free agent signing of Zach Bond mixed in here. I'm giving him a majority of the credit. As good as Fangio is, and we love you, Vic, it's got to go to the architect.
I think that's cute on your part. That's really cute. Going right to the architect, your buddy, because he hangs out with you, with your uncle. I think that's really cute.
Wait. People used to say Sirianni was my cousin. Now he's my uncle.
He's your uncle.
Now he's my uncle. I think we're the same age.
Yeah, I was going to say they're about the same age. That don't make any sense.
Okay, brother. How's that? Is brother better?
Yeah, I'm actually Jay Sirianni.
I think the whole point is he's your interest. How's that?
Or
He's
you could
of
just
your
say
interest.
he is your family member.
Yes, family member. Good.
Interest sounds a little bit like romance
Sirianni
related.
love. See, you love him. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Which is
make your
fine.
point. Make your
You go
point.
to Howie Roseman.
I
Okay,
think
fine.
He's hot. He's a good-looking guy.
Howie has drafted well. I don't take anything away from you. Let me bring up Zach Bond. Remember that guy came over? Outside linebacker, right? Am I right or wrong? Outside linebacker.
That one you got to give Fangio credit.
Outside linebacker who he made a standout star as a linebacker.
I'll give
inside
you that one.
linebacker, as a matter of fact. And who told us he was going to be inside? Vic Fangio did before even putting him on the field. Why? Because he looks at tape. He understands players. He knows where to put them. He knows where to put them in situations where they're going to do well. Oh, by the way, you drafted Cooper DeJean. You drafted Quinyon Mitchell. You're going to sit there and tell me when Howie drafted these guys that you said, those dudes are going to be starters this year. They're going to be unbelievable. They're going to be the best ever. Did you say that? Was that your thought process?
I was excited about him, but I did not expect him to acclimate this quickly.
So why?
Listen,
because it's
solid
on
coaching.
Howie. Because
Solid
Howie
coaching.
drafted them. They should be the best players in the world. Yes, it is solid coaching. As a matter of fact, Vic has a very good eye for his players. He understands where to put his players to make them the best at their possible positions. He understands how to get the most out of each and every one of his players. And you know what? He's not afraid of these players, which makes them respect him. It's Vic Fangio. It's his defense. It's the way he sorts these guys and puts them where they need to be.
I'm giving more credit to the architect. I'm giving more credit to Howie Roseman because I firmly believe that in 2023, when you saw that defense really struggle at linebacker, in the secondary at safety, James Bradbury fell off a cliff, I don't think it would have mattered who the defensive coordinator was. I don't think it would have mattered if Vic Fangio was here. They tried Sean Desai. They tried Matt Patricia. They had a significant lack of personnel.
I'm Ray Dunn hanging out with you. Sean Rodman producing the program. We got some people chiming in on the whether or not they're rooting for Carson Wentz. I mentioned Kieran in our YouTube chat was rooting for Carson Wentz. Also, speaking to our YouTube chat, shout out to Neil because he just said that his lunch choice, and it's a place near me in good old Northern Liberties that I'm a big fan of. He was saying that he was going to stop there for a cheesesteak. One of my favorite cheesesteaks going. So I just want to point that one out.
You're making me hungry now.
Yeah, I'm starving, if you can't tell. Me bringing up cheesesteaks unprompted is a nice way of me saying I'm starving right now. Doctor's appointment today kind of messed up the whole eating schedule.
All right. Now you're sounding like Bill now. Let's slow down.
Well, it's not that it's not that I'm going to turn angry the way apparently he does if he doesn't get a protein bar on the hour. But for me, I went driving. I was coming from King of Prussia, so I'm getting down 76, and there's that Wawa down there. I guess it's Bala Ave. I don't know what necessarily, but leading into Manayunk. Yeah. It's that weird Wawa. I think it was voted the worst parking lot in the area.
Yeah, it was one of the top 4. I remember.
Yeah, and that Wawa, part of the reason that I couldn't go is the parking lot was all jammed, and then it's like, I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, I got to get in here to prep this show. I can't be any later because the morning doctor's appointment I'm coming up. I didn't necessarily trust any other breakfast option, so I just went with the coffee, and we're just going to power through today, all right? So if you hear rumbling over the airwaves, just ignore it, all right? I'm a little hungry today. I'm a little famished.
We'll see if we can try to find you something.
I could go down to the vending machine. It's really not that big a deal.
I know.
It's just, I didn't do it. Carson Wentz. We had some people, JM, saying on our YouTube chat that he rooted for Randall, didn't root for McNabb. He's going to root for Wentz. I'm trying to see who else here chimed in with who they're rooting for Wentz-wise. But Kieran rooting for him. JM's rooting for him. What do we got on the text line for people rooting for him?
Yeah, actually, two people checking in here, and one person, Rob in Minnesota, he says, "I'm not rooting for or against Carson, but if he has a good game, I'll say good game, Carson. And if he turns into the Carson and start doing Carson-like things, I'm going to chuckle and be like, that's good old Carson Wentz."
Rob in Minnesota?
Yes, from
Minnesota.
He's from Philly originally.
Yeah, but he's getting a chance to witness it firsthand. That is like a peak fandom experience. I'll say it from this perspective. One of my very good friends growing up is a Colts fan who, while Carson Wentz was in Philadelphia, did everything he possibly could to disparage the fact of what Carson Wentz was. When Carson Wentz got traded to Indianapolis, it was one of the better days of my life, strictly because that friend exists. And I got to enjoy him going through the Carson Wentz experience as a fan after he had gone through the Carson Wentz experience with his, I'll say unbiased, even though he's got a little bit of a bias against the Bears, I feel like, at all times, just because he's surrounded by it. It was one of the better experiences of my life to watch him go through the Carson Wentz experience after I had. And you can fill in any athlete going somewhere else when you know the fan of that team. And it's like, yeah, it's not what do you think it is. And I thoroughly enjoyed watching him go through the Carson Wentz experience. So for Rob, he's going to get a chance to watch the people in Minnesota go through the Carson Wentz experience. I think it's different now, certainly.
A little different now that since he's a backup and a journeyman.
Yeah, a journeyman quarterback at this point. But part of it's going to be like that first terrible decision he makes, the first throw he thinks he's going to be a hero on. I might have to just change my algorithm to get on a little bit more of Minnesota Vikings Twitter just to see it. You can see the smile on my face. There's a little part of me that's excited.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
You're getting ready for it. One person that is not excited, Eric from Virginia, he says, Wentz is so far in the rearview mirror, he doesn't even exist.
Yeah, you're a mature person. You can move on. That's good for you. That's when I find that maturity, I'll look forward to it. I can look back. I can look back and have a reaction to things that happened in the past. I'm going to be at least entertained by the idea of it this weekend. I want to, real quick, go over the baseball team because, Sean, after all that postulating of what could possibly happen in the standings in the National League, this weekend comes, and I'm locked in on football because the things that could change for this baseball team are very minimal. I offered Cincinnati just a truce to help us out the last weekend of the season against the Brewers. That's not going to matter because I asked on one Philadelphian to step up for us in Mike Trout, and he didn't. Nope. His Angels did not help the Phillies out with the Brewers. So Brewers are going to get that top seed. Phillies are going to end up with that second seed. LA going to win the West. Cubs are going to be the 4 seed. Padres are going to be 5. And barring a further Metsing of the Mets, they are going to be 6. It is still 2 games between them and Cincinnati. But let's call it what it is. I think we have our postseason picture at this point. It's hard to imagine one of the Reds, Diamondbacks. I mentioned it yesterday, like the Phillies, if they were to drop 2 or 3 of the Diamondbacks, would I come in here Monday upset? Maybe if they stop playing good baseball after that and be like, all right, that's what, they didn't keep moving along. They didn't keep going with what they were doing. But it's looking more and more difficult for the Mets to fall out of that spot, especially given the fact they got the win yesterday over the Padres. And now they're 2 games up with 9 to play. I mentioned it yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, whenever we played that John Boy audio for you about how the wild card, the 6 spots have taken some of the drama out of baseball. I don't necessarily know how I feel about that, but for this year, we enter the last week and a half of baseball season, last 2 weeks of baseball season, and the National League feels like it's pretty much decided.
It does, and it doesn't feel like much is going to change, especially after the Brewers had success against the Angels, and you mentioned Mike Trout. You asked for it and did not deliver for us Philadelphians here in Philadelphia and surrounding area as well. I don't think that I don't even know who I want to see quite yet. I haven't decided on who I'd want the Phillies to see in the matchup yet. I I've kind of tossed and turned on that realm right now. But everything in the National League looks like it's going to be either the Dodgers or the Mets as this moment, as Phillies sit at the 2 spot.
Yeah, Dodgers or Mets feel like the likely outcome here. Outside chance of a Diamondbacks or a Reds, but doesn't feel like it. Look at the Diamondbacks schedule coming up. It's going to be difficult for them.
Do you trust either of those teams even to beat the Dodgers at that point anyways?
Crazy things have happened. This Dodgers team doesn't exactly scream consistent baseball right now.
And I believe they have the Diamondback, or just have
They
the
do
Diamondbacks.
have the Diamondbacks coming up.
They do have the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, Diamondbacks have the Phillies, Dodgers, Padres, I believe, to close out. If I remember what we looked at yesterday correctly. So it just seems like this is a National League that's been up and decided. I hope we come here Monday and that we're like, whoa, things have changed. We have some drama. Not in the Phillies sense. I hope that nothing's changed in that and that they just are very much secure in that 2 seed. But it looks like we know what it's going to be. We'll be talking next week about whether you prefer the Dodgers or the Mets. That's your baseball update for today. Now, getting back to the Eagles and the Rams, can you specifically point to something when it comes to McVay versus Sirianni? Can you specifically point to a reason why Sirianni's 3-0 against him? And to that end, does that matter to you at all when you look at this weekend? We'll dive into that coming up. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you to the midday show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. And let's go there with the passing offense, because it was a lot of our conversation yesterday with, hey, fantastic to get that win in Kansas City. A really good job of going on the road against the reigning AFC champs where they were in a desperate spot. Great job getting that win. But that passing offense right now, not where you would, I guess, expect a team with the talent they have to be. What are you seeing right now in this passing offense that needs to be corrected most?
Yeah, I mean, corrected is a tough word. Let's first go to the root of what I hear a lot of people saying, and I just myself don't believe it to be true, and that's just not my opinion. I've watched the tape. I've been fortunate to watch tape with some really smart people, former football players, former Eagles who have helped school me on things to look for and concepts. Greg Cosell is a part of our Inside the Birds family, and he's one of the top tape breakdown guys in all of the land, right? And the first thing you're looking for with new offensive coordinator Kevin Petullo is he doing something different? Is he trying to add something to this offense that it's not catered to do? Is he not suiting it to the strengths of his personnel? And I can definitively tell you that the offense conceptually is built and looks and is designed the same way it's been for the last few years. So the idea that it's Kevin Petullo's fault and he's doing something that the other guys weren't doing is completely false. Now, I'm not saying he's flawless, and obviously he's 2 games into the first time as a coordinator, and so there's a feel for a game. There's an understanding of when to call certain plays at the right time, and that's something that is developed along the way. And clearly, Kellen Moore came with that already, whereas Kevin Petullo didn't have it. Brian Johnson 2 years ago didn't have it at the NFL level. So I understand sort of people saying, oh, man, this reminds me of 2 years ago. But the difference is they have Saquon here, and conceptually they're keeping things the same. So when Kevin Petullo is calling a certain play from his menu, that menu isn't all that different from the menu of last year and the year before, because the Eagles understand this better than anyone because it's their building and their players. They understand what their offense should look like, how it should run, what is the best way to run it. They're not like a team that runs like 1,000 different route concepts and route designs. They do what they do really well. They run the ball typically, and then they try to get the shot play that Jalen Hurts likes so much. And so when you ask what's corrected, Ray, he took about 4 or 5 deep shots in the game against the Chiefs, but only one of them connected. Obviously, it was the most important one to Devontae Smith, but he missed Devontae earlier in the game on a similar one. He missed A.J. Brown on one that kind of I think he got hit, or there was so much traffic in his face. You might remember it was pretty early. It floated. A.J. actually caught it out of bounds and got hit, and everybody thought it was a late hit. There were about 4 or 5 plays that you typically see him and Brown and Devontae connect on that in the first 2 weeks just haven't been there.
Back into the midday show. I'm Rayton hanging out with you. Coming up in about 10 minutes time. You know, PP, you've been around the block here a few times. You know, Nick Sirianni, again, we're about 10 minutes from his presser. We're not exactly positive on when exactly he'll show up, but we'll carry that for you here on the midday show as we get you set Eagles to Rams this weekend. And speaking to Sirianni, we're going to get back to the text line in a second, some of the reaction we've gotten to a number of the topics that we've gotten into today. But Sirianni, we're going to show him some love here, which I know not necessarily anything unique to this station, maybe unique to the fact that his cousin comes up at 2 o'clock. 3-0 against McVay. Got to go back to 2023 for that first one. The last two, obviously, talking about the postseason, talking about last year in the regular season. What has been the deciding factor of those games? And you go back and you start to comb over what you were looking at. And I mentioned that game in 2023 where they start 5-0, and they limit the Rams to 14 points. And the second half adjustments, which Vic Fangio told you this week, don't believe it. That's some high school movie crap. That's not exactly how this happens. You know how much time I loved him explaining how much time it takes for him to get from the booth down to the locker room to talk to them. Like, you think I have that much time to really go through adjustments when it takes me that much time to get downstairs? I don't know if he has a beef with someone who's operating the elevators at the Link or at Arrowhead,
or what just how long it takes him, like how far it could be at some places.
Right. I don't know if he needs an escort to get him down there, like someone to show up at the door and be like, everybody clear the way. Vic Fangio's coming through. He's got to talk to his defense about that first half. He seemed but slightly perturbed at how long it takes him to get from the booth that he's coaching in to his players in the locker room. I think we should streamline that process for him.
At least maybe we get him a cart from the elevator to the locker room.
We want Fangio on a very long-term deal here. And if they're going to build a new stadium in Philadelphia, I suggest that on top of the retractable dome, we have a coach's booth for Fangio that has a direct elevator from that booth to the locker room.
Who says no?
I don't think anyone would. More time for adjustments because his team adjusts on the fly in a tremendous way. And we should do anything we can to give him more time to make those adjustments with his players. That's what I took out of his presser this week. Okay, that's what I got out of his presser. We need a more streamlined process to get him from point A to point B at halftime. But looking at his defense and the way it's been able to slow down Sean McVay's offense before, it's something that has been brought up before, that he was the one that came up with a way to slow down McVay in the year that the Rams lose to the Patriots in the Super Bowl in that 13-3 game. A real interesting game in that one. 13-3 where the Patriots beat the Rams. The Patriots used what Fangio did earlier in the season to slow down that Rams offense. And since then, he's kind of been able to own Sean McVay and a number of guys along that Sean McVay coaching tree. And that's a part of it. The Vic Fangio disciple and Sean Desai was able to limit the Rams to 2 touchdowns in the first half when they matched up in 2023. After that second half, they don't score again. The Eagles end up winning that game 23-14. Obviously, the last 2 seasons, they come up with a big turnover in the regular season game that kind of flips the game on its head early because there was a chance the Eagles could have went down probably 14-3 in that regular season game last year. Obviously, things turn on their head. They win that game 37-20. Wasn't even that, it doesn't feel like it was ever that close, even though it was that close in the beginning. Postseason game, you know what happened there. Rams only really start scoring there at the end. To a large extent, Fangio's defense has done a lot. One thing, though, that I don't know if we consider when we look at the matchups with the Rams has been the utilization of Jalen Hurts' legs in those matchups. You go back to the postseason game, we all remember that run. We all remember getting that party started. Remember the week leading up to it, is his knee hurt because he took that hit in the Packers game, and then they come out, they run with them, and it's like, okay, there's your explosive play in the running game with Jalen Hurts. That was a big factor in that game and getting that started that way for the Birds. You go back to that regular season game last year. There were a couple of runs. Now, we're not talking explosive plays. We're talking like 9-yard, 11-yard runs that really kept the Eagles moving down the field early in that game to get points. He doesn't run for a lot in that game, but at least put them on schedule offensively. And then you go back to that 2023 game where his stat line actually coming out of that game pretty impressive. Threw for 303, ran for 72, 2 total touchdowns in that game, 72 rushing yards for him in that game on top of the 300 passing yards. His ability to use his legs against that Rams defense has been something that has really been an asset. You think, oh, obviously it's been an asset for him against everyone in his career, but he's been able to beat them a number of times with his legs on top of the fact that you have Saquon Barkley in that backfield now for them that was such a weapon a year ago with the 4 touchdowns, 60-plus yards against the Rams over those 2 games. Utilizing Hurts' legs as a weapon in this game, I know it's a game that we want to see them get the passing game going, get things moving. It's been a point of success for them before against the Rams, and I think it's another real big piece of what they could do Sunday to get themselves a victory. I know we're going to talk about A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, making sure they get theirs. We're going to talk about, Saquon Barkley and the explosive plays from last year. I think Hurts' legs lead you to a really good spot against the Rams if utilized in the proper way come this week, whether it be the scrambles or whether it be something designed like what you saw to open up that NFC divisional game last year. So that's a big piece of what I see that could happen this week and a big piece of why they've had success in the 3 Sirianni games against the Rams. Coming up, we will hear from Nick Sirianni, the head coach's presser, coming your way. Next, we'll get you the NFL notes at noon, 12:30. We got John Price, Sports Information Traders, give you some picks. 12:55, we got Tim McManus of ESPN. Very busy final 2 hours of the show coming your way here on the Midday Show. I'm Ray Dunn on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Dallas Goedert could return this week. I'm Sean Rodman, and Dallas Goedert logged another limited participation practice yesterday after he missed last week's game. Tanner McKee and Will Shipley were both limited at practice yesterday as well. And after being limited on Wednesday, Jalen Carter was a full participant yesterday. Nick Sirianni will speak to the media coming up next. We'll carry that live for you. The Eagles host the Rams in a playoff rematch at 1 on Sunday. And the Philadelphia Inquirer's Olivia Reiner joined the midday show yesterday, and she has one worry for the Birds' defense.
I think the big concern that I have is Stafford and this Eagles secondary. Even, up front, generating pressure on Matthew Stafford, too, is going to be critical.
The Phillies are back in action tonight in Arizona after the day off yesterday. Taijuan Walker gets a start for the Phillies, and he will be followed by Walker Buehler. This is to align the starters for the postseason and to see Buehler out of the bullpen. Ryan Nelson gets the start for the Diamondbacks tonight. First pitch is at 9:40, and this update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Looking for an exceptional driving experience? Experience the power, precision, and intelligence of an iconic Mercedes-Benz SUV at your local Mercedes-Benz dealer today. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And let's go there with the passing offense, because it was a lot of our conversation yesterday with, fantastic to get that win in Kansas City. A really good job of going on the road against the reigning AFC champs where they were in a desperate spot. Great job getting that win, but that passing offense right now, not where you would, expect a team with the talent they have to be. What are you seeing right now in this passing offense that needs to be corrected most?
Yeah, corrected is a tough word. Let's first go to the root of what I hear a lot of people saying, and I just myself don't believe it to be true, and that's just not my opinion. I've watched the tape. I've been fortunate to watch tape with some really smart people, former football players, former Eagles who've helped school me on things to look for and concepts. Greg Cosell is a part of our Inside the Birds family, and he's one of the top tape breakdown guys in all of the land, right? And the first thing you're looking for with new offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo is he doing something different? Is he trying to add something to this offense that it's not catered to do? Is he not suiting it to the strengths of his personnel? And I can definitively tell you that the offense conceptually is built and looks and is designed the same way it's been for the last few years. So the idea that it's Kevin Patullo's fault and he's doing something that the other guys weren't doing is completely false. Now, I'm not saying he's flawless, and obviously he's 2 games into the first time as a coordinator, and so there's a feel for a game. There's an understanding of when to call certain plays at the right time, and that's something that is developed along the way. And clearly, Kellen Moore came with that already, whereas Kevin Petrillo didn't have it. Brian Johnson 2 years ago didn't have it at the NFL level. So I understand sort of people saying, oh, man, this reminds me of 2 years ago. But the difference is they have Saquon here, and conceptually they're keeping things the same. So when Kevin Petrillo is calling a certain play from his menu, that menu isn't all that different from the menu of last year and the year before, because the Eagles understand this better than anyone because it's their building and their players. They understand what their offense should look like, how it should run, what is the best way to run it. And, they're not like a team that runs like 1,000 different route concepts and route designs. They do what they do really well. They run the ball typically, and then they try to get the shot play that Jalen Hurts likes so much. And so when you ask what's corrected, Ray, he took about 4 or 5 deep shots in the game against the Chiefs, but only one of them connected. Obviously, it was the most important one to Devontae Smith, but he missed Devontae earlier in the game on a similar one. He missed A.J. Brown on one that kind of I think he got hit, or there was so much traffic in his face. You might remember it was pretty early. It floated. A.J. actually caught it out of bounds and got hit, and everybody thought it was a late hit. There were about 4 or 5 plays that you typically see him and Brown and Devontae connect on that in the first 2 weeks just haven't been there.
And let's go there with the passing offense, because it was a lot of our conversation yesterday with, hey, fantastic to get that win in Kansas City. A really good job of going on the road against the reigning AFC champs where they were in WPN, WPN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group Station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. The man whose own Sean McVay as a head coach has decided to step to the podium. We will hear from your Super Bowl winning head coach, Nick Sirianni, right now.
Nick, you guys, every week you get those referee tapes. This week they, said they were going to call it tight with the tush push or the sneak play. How do you handle that when something like that comes?
Yeah, you just address it, and you work on, like you do with every play, of being playing to the rules of the game. I mean, that's something that we talk about all the time, formationally, snap count wise, offensively is what I'm saying, defense wise, being onside, all those different things. So same way you do all those things. I know there's a lot of chatter and hype about the play, but we're coaching it the same way we always coach it, and we know we have to be right, not only on that play but with all our plays.
How do you feel like your relationship with officials on the sidelines has evolved over the 5 years as a head coach?
Yeah, I really respect how hard their job is and the job that they have to do. Like, nobody's high-fiving a referee after a play, or whatever it is and saying, great, well, I guess maybe sometimes if you're on the benefit of it, but they have a really hard job. I mean, it's, and I think, obviously I'm emotional on the sideline, and I think throughout the years, I've come to understand more and more how hard their job is, and they're not getting any love or anything like that. So that doesn't mean, like, in the heat of the moment there's not an argue about a call, but I think my personal growth there has been much better, from day one, and you try to grow in everything that you do. But I can't tell you how much I respect the job that they have to do and how they have to do it. They have to make these split-second decisions, and half the people in the world are gonna hate their call, and half the people in the world are going to love their call. And that's a tough job. And so, I think I can't say enough how much I respect the job that they have to do. And, when you're in those things, when you're in those heat of the battle things, you just, respect that. And because it's a really tough job.
Think the interactions, good or bad, can affect how they officiate a game?
No, because I think they're very professional. And I think I think all those guys are very professional, and they know, hey, he's arguing this call, and I think I guess I don't think in the sense of like old school coaching is like, if I yell at him this one, I'll get this one. Maybe I don't like, because that used to be the theory, right? If you get on somebody about this one, maybe you'll get the next call. I think they do such a good job of individualizing each play, each situation, regardless of what's happened. Again, I can't tell you enough of how good I think they do under the circumstances they have to do it with, because it's really hats off to them, because it's a really hard job, and I respect the job that they do and the league office does with them and everybody. So, we don't. I guess we don't give I'm guilty of it too. We don't give enough love to our referees that enforce and the rules of this game. Because if I'm calling the calls like every week, like, and it's up to the coaches, like you play a pickup basketball game and you're like, all right, we got the fouls this game. That doesn't usually work out. So very necessary.
Tom Brady called your game last week. Presumably he'll call more of your games this season. You play Vegas this year. What's your approach in those production meetings with it?
Yeah, a production meeting's similar to when I'm in here too. Like, you just, you're going. It's an interview, right? It's an interview, so very similar. All my interactions with Tom Brady have been really positive, really good, and respect the heck out of him and his view on football and what he's done, and so have nothing but respect for him. But I would say those production meetings, regardless of the crew, are very similar to an interaction that we have here in our building.
What stands out to you about Saquon in games where he's not hitting the home run, so to speak, but he has to kind of grind out the yards?
Yeah, just tough, gritty guy that at any point can hit a home run. I think that's why he can make yards out of sometimes where the defense got our number on it, and so I respect that in any player that, where it's a gritty, grimy game, and you got to make the plays that you make. And sometimes it's not even like, oh, hey, that was a 4-yard run. Sometimes it's like, hey, it was a 2-yard run, but it was a really good run. And so, yeah, you just admire his mental toughness, you admire his toughness, you admire the offensive line's toughness and the offense's grit to push through those moments. And when you're grinding it out, but, just happy he's on our team.
You talked a lot since you've been here about one of your favorite parts of coaching is helping a player grow off the field. You've been with Jordan Davis since he got here, the highs, the lows. He's playing at a high level right now, in good shape. I was wondering your perspective on his journey and maybe like the pride you feel watching him play at a high level now.
Yeah, he's obviously playing at a very high level right now, and he's worked really. I love when guys work their butts off to achieve their goals and help the team win, and he's obviously done that. Probably had to go through a lot of questions about him early on, and just his mental toughness to be able to push through that and just continue to grow and develop as a player has been awesome. And the shape that he's in, he's obviously worked really hard to be in that shape, and he's showing that out in the field, and that consistency and obviously Jordan Davis, is well liked in the locker room, well liked with the coaches. I mean, he's a guy that when he comes into this building brings a smile to everybody's face. You can't be around. You've seen him. You've talked to him, right? You can't be around Jordan Davis and not leave that conversation feeling good about yourself and good about your team and everything like that. That's a special quality that he has. So obviously happy for him that he's worked so hard to be playing this level, but the person is top notch. The teammate is top notch, and he's tough. He's talented, and then has all that other stuff. That's where, we talk about that in the draft quite a bit. Is like when a guy loves football, he's tough, and can go through the ups and downs of a season. Those guys usually, God willing, reach their ceiling.
Two more, folks. It's probably not as high a thing to talk about, but the new kickoff rule and the Rams, their average opposing starting of the drives is the best in the NFL. How is that kind of on y'all's mind, and how does that affect kind of how it changes the game, your approach on offense?
Yeah, obviously we look at all those things. We look at every phase, and they do a good job with their kickoff coverage. Their kicker does a really good job, so we've worked on that all week.
Nick, you start the way the schedule has unfolded. You open with a division rival. You have a Super Bowl rematch. Now you have a divisional rematch. Is there any challenge as coaches or players to kind of tap into that emotional well continually, and so nobody comes out flat? I mean, is there anything you can do to prevent that?
No, I mean, I think we have a group of guys in this locker room that works their butt off to be ready for each and every Sunday, and that love football. And, you might not start fast at times offensively or defensively, but with this group, I don't think the word flat's I think it's a flashy word to use when, you might not start fast. Like, there's different reasons for not starting fast. And our intention every week is to start fast, obviously, on both sides of the football. But there's reasons for it, and we're going to come out ready. We know that the Rams are going to come out and ready to play. We got to come out ready to play. That's part of the process of practice. To have confidence in the plan, that's part of the process of practice when you might take a period off here and there to make sure they're fresh in those scenarios. And so can't tell you how much respect I have, again, for this Rams team that we've played often these last 2 years, these last 3 years. I think they got phenomenal players all over the board, and I think Coach McVay is one of the best coaches in the NFL, and I know he'll have his team ready, and, that's our goal, obviously, as well.
All right, thanks for.
All right. That was it. Nick Sirianni. Man. The referee love. Sean Rodman. I don't know if we have a running time of how long that presser was. What, about 10 minutes?
About 10 minutes.
3 minutes, 30 seconds.
There we go. I heard good work from the back there. It was Gabby back there throwing 10 minutes and 9 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yep.
Thank you, Gabby. 3 or 4 of those minutes was spent just talking about how much he respects officials. I listened to it. You listened to it. That 3 to 4 minutes of that was spent how much he respects officials. I just want the officials of the NFL to know that we, too, respect you here for the work that you do. And we, too, do not want you to call penalties on the tush push this week. I just want you to know that we see you. We understand you have a job. And we understand your job might be difficult. And that no one gives you a pat on the back when you deserve it. We, too, here, the radio people, understand what it's like not to be given a pat on the back when you get something right. I want to say to the officials, I extend out my hand, much like Nick Sirianni, in a way of saying we stand in solidarity with how difficult it must be for you. Outside of the 30 to 40% of that was just him talking about how difficult it is to be an official and how much he respects them. We got a Slim JD reference. They're asking about our guy Jordan Davis on that one. So shout out to Slim JD for getting himself into shape and growing up. He downplayed the Brady thing, which I'm glad someone asked him about because I've been interested in his thoughts on that because he's king competitive advantage, and he considers those production meetings an interview, which means that he probably spends most of his time with those production meetings spending about 2 to 3 minutes answering a question he could have answered in about 2 sentences. So I imagine it's a lot of fun to be on those production calls because you get a lot of good anecdotes, but you probably get very little actual game plan information. Also, the last question there about coming out flat. I agree with Sirianni. I'll give Sirianni credit on this one. He's built such a culture that I don't believe that they are a team that will show up to a game and just fall flat. I think they're a team that could show up to a game and execute poorly off the jump, and that's more the issue. I have a hard time believing Sirianni doesn't have his team geared up to play week in and week out, given the culture that he's built there. So that's your takeaway from what Sirianni had to say. Coming up, we're going to go around the NFL. We've got our NFL notes at noon with Sean Rodman at 12:30. We got some picks for you coming up 12:55. We got Tim McManus of ESPN giving you a breakdown on the Birds, the game coming up this week. Still plenty to get to here. I'm Ray Dunn. Take you through middays on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Eagles.
You know when that game was lost? The game was lost when Travis Kelce dropped a pass that became an interception that gave the Eagles the ball. The game was lost when Andy Reid made the decision to go for it on 4th and 1 from his own 36 that gave the Eagles a field goal, a gimme field goal in the third quarter. The game was lost when Harrison Butker missed a field goal that would have been a 3-point. So that's when the game was lost.
Okay, so John, so why the sensitivity then?
Because you said you just said it was a fact that the Eagles lost. You said the game was won on Get Up. You said the game was won because of the tush push. That was not fact, and you just said it was fact again. It wasn't won because of the tush push.
It was one of the factors involved in that game.
You didn't
They could
say
not
that.
Stop that play. Oh, okay. Well, you know what, John? I'm not going to go into Get Up when I got 20 seconds. Well, they did this and they did that and they did
Well,
this.
weren't they bigger? Okay, were they bigger factors or were they less factors? Because I think Travis Kelce and that interception was a bigger factor in the Chiefs losing than the tush push. Andy Reid twice going out of character was a bigger decision. Butker missing a field goal was a bigger than the tush push, which accounted for 5 yards in the game.
John, fine. What does that have to do with my opinion on the tush push? Again, people are mistaken. So I'm not giving the Eagles flowers for making other plays? Okay, good. They did make those plays. Again, bravo. Excellent. They won the game. Great job. Okay, but people feel cheated that I didn't salute them for stopping them on 4th and 1 or coming up with a big pick. I'm just talking about the tush push and the ire it's raised across the league and across the country. People all worked up. I've never been one that's been worked up about it or against the play.
We absolutely have backed you on that. Andrew and I backed you on that completely.
The reason that I'm so presumptuous that Patullo will figure it out is I get that he's never called plays before. That's why I'm willing to give him some time to figure that part of it out. But this was the guy who was the passing game coordinator over the last few seasons where you just saw them win a Super Bowl. You saw them go to a Super Bowl. He was the pass game coordinator. So I know there's been a lot of chatter, and we even played the Dan Orlovsky clip yesterday of talking about how predictable the passing game was with routes to A.J. Brown running the same route over and over and over again. Patullo was the pass game coordinator. So are we really just thinking to ourselves that, well, even though he was the pass game coordinator, he probably didn't do anything. It was all Kellen Moore. Even though he was the pass game coordinator, probably didn't do anything. It was all Shane Steichen. He was a part of those passing offenses, so I do think he's going to figure it out. I think that he has also earned the benefit of the doubt. Like I said yesterday, this team has earned our patience. I think the fact that Patullo has been your passing game coordinator with a team that's been extremely successful, he has earned our patience as well.
It's 12 o'clock hour here on 97.5 The Fanatic. It's brought to you by Service First HVAC, offering 0% financing for 48 months, rebates and tax credits up to $4,300 when purchasing a heating and cooling system. Learn more at servicefirsthvac.com. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through the midday show. You just heard from Nick Sirianni, and I'm seeing that the one clip he had at least a minute dedicated to the referee love? Is referee love like the remix that we could get for Sirianni to sing?
We might have to
after
start talking
today?
to Bill. See if he's got anything in the works.
Yeah, I don't want to step on his toes with that, you know. But a lot of love for the referees today. Smart. If there was ever a time to shower the referees with praise, if you were the Philadelphia Eagles, right now would be a good time after the conversations about the tush push this week. But let's take you to the conversations going on nationally. It's only 12 minutes after noon, but every day at noon we take you around the National Football League. Hit the music, Rodman.
Alrighty, let's start up in Green Bay, where Tucker Kraft had an injury scare yesterday at practice. After he injured his left knee, Adam Schefter is reporting that it was a small scare, but they think it's nothing too serious. He will not practice today, according to their head coach, Matt LaFleur, and he was no IR, and he's little uncertainty for Sunday. So no IR. It looks like they avoided some major scare for him. And the Packers could potentially keep rolling this week when they have the Browns.
Yeah, if there was ever a time to miss him, this was the week to miss him. Missing him against the Browns just because it's the Browns. But they all of a sudden a little banged up in the receiver corps over there. They got a couple of guys down right now. So Kraft is a concern because he's just been tremendous for them to start the season. Him and Love really seem to have found a connection. But Reed went down, now without Kraft. It's about time. Hey, Matthew Golden, well, I gave you all that hype leading in this season about a big reason why I was believing in the Packers. Time for Golden to step up a little bit. Again, this week, probably a good week for them. If they're going to miss Kraft at some point this season, this week's one of the weeks to miss him. But after that, it doesn't get that much more difficult. Cowboys, Bengals, Cardinals, Steelers, Panthers, my goodness, they might just rack up the wins leading up to the Eagles. But you'd like to have him back out there, given the security blanket he's been for Jordan Love early this season.
Yeah, and he had his first breakout game last week, too, on Thursday night. Let's go to another injury news. Brock Purdy, he was able to practice again yesterday, logging his second limited participation after he missed last week with a left shoulder and toe injury. I mean, he missed a week in a win over the Saints, so he missed a good week in week 2. This week they have the Cardinals, though, and it's not like they have a bye weekend coming up anytime soon. Not until week 14 for them.
Well, they got the Jaguars next week.
I guess you could consider that a bye if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, Jaguars aren't necessarily as bad as they've been, but yeah, I'm not looking at that as a tough one for them. I mean, they have the schedule to deal with not having the thing is with the Shanahan offense, it's shown you that the plug-and-play quarterback situation isn't the worst. The plug-and-play running back isn't the worst. Like, Shanahan's been able to scheme up things to make things work for his team before. This is interesting, though, because I think it's a battle of who's legitimate in the 2-0. The Cardinals and the 49ers both 2-0. Who actually is legit right now? Again, I told you how I feel about that 4 o'clock slate anyways. It's not exactly like it's going to be top of mind for me, but it's football. I'll be watching it. Very interested to see the way that one goes.
Yeah, definitely interested there, too. Another injury one. We'll stick with injuries since it's
everybody
Football
banged
Friday.
up. Yeah, seriously, what is it? Week 3 and the entire league's hurt?
Yeah, it feels like because quarterback just a little bit south of here, Jaden Daniels in the division, did not practice again yesterday with a sprained knee that he had last Thursday against the Packers. So 2 injuries from that game now. Kraft was in practice, so excuse me. But 2 injuries with Jaden Reed was the other one in that game. They have Vegas this weekend. Mariota could start, and also Daniels was not spotted at practice the beginning part earlier today. So,
man, I kind of need the Mariota.
So we might have 2 quarterbacks that were former Eagles starting this week with Mariota and Wentz around the league.
Yes.
Am I missing one? Is there another one that I
Will
can't
you
think
be
of?
rooting for Marcus Mariota this weekend? 610-632. I'm trying to think. Minshew's bench somewhere. Is Minshew on a team, actually?
Is Minshew on a team? That's a great question. I actually don't know. He was with, what, the Raiders last, was it?
He's the Chiefs' backup.
Oh, I did
forgot
know that.
they went back to that. Well, yes.
Back to the old Eagles backup quarterback realm.
Yes. Yeah, so 2 former Eagles, I guess, will be getting to start this week. I'm trying to think who else around the league could be starting.
I mean, I don't think there's anyone else at the moment.
Yeah. Unless I'm Oh, Flacco.
Oh.
Joe Flacco.
He
Old
was
Joe.
once
That's right. Yeah. All right. In terms of what this is, I will say there are a few things that jump out to me. The line, I believe, when I just looked at my FanDuel Sportsbook app here for this game, opened at 6.5, is down to 3 between the Raiders and Commanders. So the Daniels news has people piling money in on the Raiders, and someone that I implicitly trust with the way they are able to read things and they look at things jumped on that Raiders plus 6.5 early in the week, and I'm jealous of them having that right now because it looks like that's going to be a really good play.
Was that Tom Brady?
No, it was not. No, I'm sure, though, they'll let him gamble on football if he wants to, unlike anyone else.
It's probably the only one they'll let gamble.
Yeah, of course. Tom Brady exists above the rules of football, which he has for a long time, actually. I mean, you think about it, the Tuck rule, I'm not going to go down that path. I had that debate last week with some buddies. I'm not going down that path. But looking at that game, if Daniels can't go, the Raiders stealing one in Washington, Landover, Maryland, stealing one against the Commanders would be huge for the Birds and this division.
Especially
not a practice today.
Start.
Yeah. Not a practice day. A 1-2 start for the Raiders. Like, legitimately look at this division. Look at the NFC East. I mean, this is the beauty of the NFL Notes at Noon. It takes us to this place. Look at this division this weekend. Is it out of the realm of possibilities that the Cowboys go to Soldier Field and lose? No, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities. I would take the Cowboys if I was a betting man on that game. I'm going to stay away from it because I don't want to pick the Cowboys back-to-back weeks and, have them not cover last week and win, and then potentially lose this week, and then I'm out money on them back-to-back weeks. I don't want to do that. Plus, it feels gross to pick and win back-to-back weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But is that out of the realm of possibilities? Them to lose and start 1-2? No. The Giants have the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. I think we all expect the Giants to start 0-3. And if the Commanders were to drop one to the Raiders this weekend because you don't have Jaden Daniels, Birds win the game this weekend. You're already up 2 in the division.
Yeah, and I had heard...
I mean, that's best case. There's a world in which you're tied with the Cowboys for the top of the division if you lose and the Cowboys win, but you have the tiebreaker on them already with one game in hand. I'm just looking. Best case? The best case looks pretty nice right now.
Best case, yeah, and if you want to go best case in the regard, not necessarily to injury regard for them, but for the Commanders losing more games, that sprained knee, I know, is typically like a 2 to 4 week injury. They have the Falcons, who are currently 1-1, then the Chargers, both on the road after this week as well. Then they have the Bears at home. I mean, I think they could win maybe one out of those games, but you could see them start off with only 2-3, 1-4.
Whoa! All right, now you're really trying to go best case, that where they lose 3 straight games. I don't know if I'm gonna give them 3 straight losses, but yeah.
I mean, you saw Marcus Mariota as a backup quarterback here in Philadelphia. It wasn't too pretty. Granted, I know he performed better in Washington as a backup.
Yeah,
so far.
I mean, I think if they end up 2-3, that's a beautiful thing. If they end up 3-2, that's honestly a nice thing for the Eagles, because the Eagles could get out to a nice run here, especially with the Giants. You'd be able to build a little bit of security over them, even a weaker part of their schedule. The Raiders, Falcons, I mean, their schedule gets more difficult, that middle part where they go at Cowboys, at Chiefs, Seahawks, Lions. That portion of it is more difficult for them. If they enter that portion at 3-2, you feel pretty good about yourself. There it is. Your NFL Notes at Noon. Good stuff there, Sean Rodman. Coming up, we will get back to where we started this show today. Get some of your texts. I know we got a lot on the text line about this game this weekend. Where is the insecurity for you? Where are you insecure about this football game this weekend between the Eagles and the Rams? And then coming up at 12:30 from Sports Information Traders, John Price joins the show, giving you some picks for the weekend and obviously giving you a chance to get in on the action with them. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through middays right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Dallas Goedert could return this week. I'm Sean Rodman, and Dallas Goedert logged another limited participation in practice yesterday after he did not practice at all last week, and he missed the game last week too. Tanner McKee and Will Shipley were both limited at practice yesterday as well, and after being limited on Wednesday, Jalen Carter was a full participant yesterday. Nick Sirianni spoke to the media not too long ago. If you want to hear that, you can listen to it on 975thefanatic.com, podcast it there. The Eagles host the Rams in a playoff rematch at 1 on Sunday, and the Philadelphia Inquirer's Olivia Reiner joined the midday show yesterday, and she has one worry for the Birds on defense.
Some teams are good.
Well, that's not Olivia, but Olivia basically saying that could worry about Stafford picking apart that secondary. The Phillies are back in action tonight in Arizona after the day off yesterday. Taijuan Walker gets the start for the Phillies, and he will be followed by Walker Buehler. This is to align the starters for the postseason to see if Buehler is out, can be worked out of the bullpen. Ryan Nelson gets the start for the Diamondbacks tonight. First pitch is at 9:40. This update is brought to you by King's Hawaiian Sliders. Eli Manning reminds you there's nothing like football in King's Hawaiian Sliders. King's Hawaiian Sliders make you a winner on game day. Pick them up this weekend in the bakery or deli section of your local grocery store. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
You know when that game was lost? The game was lost when Travis Kelce dropped a pass that became an interception that gave the Eagles the ball. The game was lost when Andy Reid made the decision to go for it on 4th and 1 from his own 36 that gave the Eagles a field goal, a gimme field goal in the third quarter. The game was lost when Harrison Butker missed a field goal that would have been a 3-point. So that's when the game was lost.
Okay, so John, so why the sensitivity then?
Because
okay,
you said you just said it was a fact that the Eagles lost. You said the game was won on Get Up. You said the game was won because of the tush push. That was not fact, and you just said it was fact again. It wasn't won because of the tush push.
It was one of the factors involved in that game.
You didn't
They could
say
not
that.
Stop that play. Oh, okay. Well, you know what, John? I'm not going to go into Get Up when I got 20 seconds. Well, they did this and they did that and they did this.
Well, weren't they bigger? Okay, were they bigger factors or were they less factors? Because I think Travis Kelce and that interception was a bigger factor in the Chiefs losing than the tush push. Andy Reid twice going out of character was a bigger decision. Butker missing a field goal was a bigger than the tush push, which accounted for 5 yards in the game.
John, fine. What does that have to do with my opinion on the tush push? Again, people are mistaken. So I'm not giving the Eagles flowers for making other plays? Okay, good. They did make those plays. Again, bravo. Excellent. They won the game. Great job. Okay? But people feel cheated that I didn't salute them for stopping them on 4th and 1 or coming up with a big pick. I'm just talking about the tush push and the ire it's raised across the league and across the country. People all worked up. I've never been one that's been worked up about it or against the play.
We absolutely have backed you on that. Andrew and I backed you on that completely.
The reason that I'm so presumptuous that Patullo will figure it out is I get that he's never called plays before. That's why I'm willing to give him some time to figure that part of it out. But this was the guy who was the passing game coordinator over the last few seasons where you just saw them win a Super Bowl. You saw them go to a Super Bowl. He was the pass game coordinator. So I know there's been a lot of chatter, and we even played the Dan Orlovsky clip yesterday of talking about how predictable the passing game was with routes to A.J. Brown, running the same route over and over and over again. Patullo was the pass game coordinator. So are we really just thinking to ourselves that, well, even though he was the pass game coordinator, he probably didn't do anything. It was all Kellen Moore. Even though he was the pass game coordinator, probably didn't do anything. It was all Shane Steichen. He was a part of those passing offenses, so I do think he's going to figure it out. I think that he has also earned the benefit of the doubt. Like I said yesterday, this team has earned our patience. I think the fact that Patullo has been your passing game coordinator with a team that's been extremely successful, he has earned our patience as well.
You know when that game was lost? The game was lost when Travis Kelce dropped a pass that became an interception that gave the Eagles the ball. The game was lost when Andy Reid made the decision to go for it on 4th and 1 from his own 36 that gave the Eagles a field goal, a gimme field goal in the third.
Days here, working our way through the 12 o'clock hour. Coming up, we got John Price of Sports Information Traders joining us to talk about his picks of the week. After that, of course, 12:55, we're getting you Tim McManus. Busy 12 o'clock hour. We heard from the head coach, Nick Sirianni, met with the media. We had a little bit of fun at his expense with his love of the referees, the officiating in football, because, obviously this week there's been a lot made of the officiating in football as it regards his favorite play, the good old tush push, and everything that they have not done to officiate that play. But also a couple of things that he got to talking about, just the idea of them coming out flat as a team just never really feels like the case with him as the head coach. I feel like the one thing I can give credit while I make jokes about his presser, Sirianni seems to always have this team energy-wise up and ready to go, and I don't think that's ever a concern for me. What do we got? Text line for a number of things we've gotten into getting ready for Rams-Eagles today.
We have Brian in Abington saying, I have a newfound respect for the Chiefs and Patriots fans. People hate to see a consistent winner. With the Pats, they couldn't win without someone trolling Deflategate. With the Chiefs, they can't win without trolling about ref favoritism. Now, the Eagles can't win without tush-push trolling. It's very annoying that all the conversation revolves around just that.
The Eagles are the it team, man. They are the it team in the NFL. They've gotten to that point. Everyone else is going to hate them. Ultimately, it's going to be on us to have to react to that and deal with that. But I understand. The new level of respect, I still miss me with the whole Patriots fan thing. I'm still have my problems with Boston sports fans. I'm not necessarily going to sit here and tell you that I feel better about it. But I understand where you come from. We got anything else game-related here?
One, not necessarily game-related, but Roderick from Norristown checking in on the Al Michaels taking a potential shot at the Eagles. He says Al Michaels wasn't talking about the Eagles. He's talking in general terms. He's announced multiple sports over multiple decades. He could have been talking about the 2001 Ravens or the Devils teams during the clutch and grab era. Not everything is about the Eagles.
Wow. I mean, if he pulled out a 2001 Ravens reference while talking, I don't know. I'd listen to that clip. I listened in the context of today. I felt like after the conversation we've had all week, it sounded like he was at least acknowledging there are some good teams in the NFL that are not as interesting as the Buffalo Bills. But all right, Roderick, let you have your moment there. I realize Al Michael's been around for a while. I love that. You got to quantify it. He's been around for a while. He could be talking about anything. You could say that about anyone in your life. If I say, those producers, I remember when they were doing a good job, and I say it in the context of right now. Do you think I'm talking about, actually, it's a producer I'm thinking about from 2.5 years ago at this station, or do you think I'm talking about Sean Rodman right in front of me?
I mean, based off that comment, it's got to be about me.
But I've been around a bit, so you never know.
You've been around a bit, yeah.
Okay, all right, moving on here. Talking about someone that always does a good job, and someone that's done a tremendous job when it comes to winning for his clients. Right now, nobody betting him quite like our guy of John Price of Sports Information Traders. 2 weeks ago, he told you about the two-play Philly special. He swept both those plays to start the season 2-0. Last week, came on the station, told us about his triple play special. Hundreds of people across the country purchased it. John went 2-0-1. His overall record for the year, 4-0-1. Right now, you can see those 3 documented plays from last week on his website, sportsinformationtraders.com. A lot of options out there, but Sports Information Traders continues to prove to you why they are the place to go. John is on the Comcast Business Hotline. John, congratulations on your start to the season.
Thank you. We got to keep it going. I expect 3 more wins this weekend, and we want to thank everyone from Philadelphia who was on board last week. It was really special, the triple play special. We won with the Packers -3.5, pushed on the Oregon over, and DK Metcalf anytime NFL touchdown on Sunday was up +160. We have 3 more plays this week. It's the newest triple play special. It's $49. 2 college plays tomorrow and an NFL prop on Sunday. I do want to emphasize 2 things. Number 1, this is for first-time clients only. So if you won last week, congratulations. This is for brand new people. And number 2, do not wait until tomorrow to buy this. We had Oregon over 48. It pushed. Our money was safe. Anybody who played Oregon over on Saturday, it was 49.5. You lost. So very important that you go to our website, sportsinformationtraders.com. Again, it's sportsinformationtraders.com. You can buy the newest triple play special right there, $49. You can buy it directly. You'll get an access code, or you can call us at 866-356-1232. I know a lot of you are in the car right now, don't really have anything to write down. Sportsinformationtraders.com is our website. Whatever you do, get on the place today because these lines will move before tomorrow. Go to sportsinformationtraders.com.
And John Price of Sports Information Traders, and you heard him right there. New triple play, their newest triple play special right now, $49 at sportsinformationtraders.com. You can call them 866-356-1232. First two plays in college football tomorrow, and then you have an NFL prop coming your way on Sunday. This offer, first-time clients only, and you want to get in with it now. The way he explained to you, those lines can move. So the picks they have for you now, you want to get in right now at sportsinformationtraders.com. John, let's get your take on this week's Eagles-Rams game. What play do you like here?
First of all, I love the arguments over the tush push. When I hear that, all I imagine is opposing teams practicing, defending it all week long, knowing that it's coming and still unable to stop it. It is comical, but it's a great thing for Philadelphia. 2-0, of course, 3.5. is the line right now for the Eagles over the Rams. It opened at Eagles minus 4.5, so a slight edge in public money on the Rams. The Eagles have played really clean so far, and they've dominated the time of possession. If people are wondering, why is this team finishing so strong? That's why. They have dominated the Cowboys and the Chiefs in time of possession. That's why they're closing out games strong, and I look for them to do the same thing this week. Rams 2-0. Coming off a win over Tennessee, Matt Stafford threw for nearly 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. A big stat for them, keep an eye on this, third down conversion ratio. They're 12 for 25 so far this year. So keep an eye. Third and whatever, they've been successful. Prediction time. I think the Eagles' running game is going to be the difference maker this week. They're averaging 140 yards per game so far on the ground. L.A. as a defense is giving up 112 yards per game on the ground. I expect Philadelphia to control the ground game and the clock and the scoreboard. I'm taking the Eagles minus 3.5 over the LA Rams. That will not be a private play. I want you on my 3 private plays, the newest triple play special. I don't want you on them tomorrow. I want you on them today. Go to sportsinformationtraders.com right now. You must be a first-time buyer. You can buy that for $49 right on our website. It's 2 college football plays happening tomorrow and 1 NFL prop. All 3 plays are in. When you pay for it, you put the access code in. You'll be looking at all 3 plays staring back at you. Put them in now before those lines move tomorrow. Go to sportsinformationtraders.com, or a lot of people are processing at the same time around the country. You can call us 866-356-1232.
I love the first free pick there. Love the first pick you're giving us here with the Eagles minus 3.5. But, of course, that's John Price with Sports Information Traders. You can go to sportsinformationtraders.com. That's sportsinformationtraders.com to get the newest triple play. Only $49. Went 2-0-1 in last week's triple play special. And you can buy this week's directly on the website, or you can call 866-356-1232. Let's go to college football here. This week, you got Texas Tech and Utah. Who do you like in that one?
Beautiful game. Really, really good game. You're going to love this one. Utah right now minus 3.5 over Texas Tech. That's where it opened. Public money early was on the Red Raiders. It has shifted back to Utah's favor. Texas Tech 3-0, really talented quarterback in Baron Morton. Very balanced offense. They've run the ball 112 times, passed it 110. TCU 3-0. Circle this guy. Devin Dampierre, 7 passing touchdowns. He averages 6 yards a carry on the ground. He is the definition of a dual-threat quarterback. So far, prediction-wise, Utah's 3-0 against the spread this season, but I think giving Texas Tech 3.5 points in their own building is not great value. Heavy public money has pushed this total number up, but I think Utah's offense is going to keep the clock running and keep the scoring down. The number is 58. And I am taking the under 58 points in the Utah-Texas football game. Folks, you like to take those recreational plays from me on the radio. The people who are winning are the ones who are betting my private plays. We are 4-0-1 this year. We have 3 plays this weekend. It's the newest triple play special, $49, 2 college plays, 1 NFL prop play. It all begins tomorrow, but you need to get on it right now. So remember our website, sportsinformationtraders.com. Do not wait until tomorrow because the lines will move. Again, last week we won with the Packers. We won with DK Metcalf anytime touchdown. We pushed with the Oregon over at 48. That game went off at 49.5. So if you said, hey, I got 49.5, that's because you waited to get on the games. Go right now to sportsinformationtraders.com. Give us a call, $49 for the triple play special. You must be a first-time client. If you paid last week and you got the wins, congratulations. You know what we're all about. I expect to be 7-0-1 when we speak again next Friday. And if you have a problem transacting, it means we're all over the country right now. You can always call us at 866-356-1232. I want to leave you with one thought. Imagine the Rams right now going through their 3rd session of trying to defend the tush push because they know it's coming. And then when they go 4 for 4 against on tush pushes, the complaints come. That is real, and that is happening. I promise you.
And what's happening is when we talk next week, you're going to be 7-0-1. It's John Price of SportsInformationTraders.com. You can see the 2-0-1 week that he had a week ago, the triple play special. You can see that documented on the website, SportsInformationTraders.com. This week, you get another triple play for only $49. The first-time clients can get in on that one. You can buy it directly at SportsInformationTraders.com or call them 866-356-1232. First 2 plays, college football tomorrow, and then an NFL prop coming your way on Sunday. These game lines are going to move between now and tomorrow, so you got to get on them now. Purchase them, again, sportsinformationtraders.com by calling 866-356-1232. Thank you so much again, John. Look forward to talking to you when you're 7-0-1 come next week.
The only thing I would add is if you are a late bloomer and you do show up tomorrow, you better put those lines in where you see them and not where they are, because that's where the money is.
Make sure of that. And again, sportsinformationtraders.com, 866-356-1232. Look forward to talking to you again next week. John, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
John Price there of Sports Information Traders. Got the Birds this week, 3.5. And I think our picks might line up with that. We got that coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. Plus, coming up in about 15 minutes' time, we'll talk to Tim McManus of ESPN, who covers the Birds. We continue to get you ready for the game this weekend. Eagles, Rams, something Tim McManus said yesterday to Unfiltered. Before you hear from him, we'll hear about that. That's coming up next here on the Midday Show.
Now, a Birds Insider Update on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Just 2 days away from Eagles-Rams. I'm Sean Rodman, and the Birds take on the Rams on Sunday in another playoff rematch for the Birds. Dallas Goedert has been limited so far in practice this week after he missed last week's game due to a knee injury. Tanner McKee has also been limited this week. He was the third-string quarterback last week in case of emergency against the Chiefs, and Will Shipley was limited yesterday, which is his first practice he's participated in since being injured week 1. Jalen Carter was a full participant at yesterday's practice after he was limited on Wednesday. And coming up at 12:55, ESPN's Tim McManus will join us live to preview the Eagles' first Rams. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And doing a little reconnaissance yesterday, someone that I trust a lot, knowing the inner workings of the Eagles, sort of maybe not took me to the woodshed, but just said to me, chill out.
I'm going to say now, 6:08 in the morning, they're going to have to play better offensively against the Rams.
Oh, yes, they are.
They have to. They can do it. We need to see it, and there's no more excuses.
does the passing game have to evolve? Of course it does. But you're also going to get more from Saquon Barkley and that rushing offense. And the reason that I feel better is I know what the offense is capable of. Man, I didn't expect this from the defense.
You know how you could answer this question? Think about this. What was your biggest fear going in?
It was the defense. And that's why I feel better today, because I look at this defense with all of the new pieces. Like, you lost Josh Sweat. You lost Milton Williams. You lost Darius Slay and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. You didn't have Nakobe Dean to start the season because he's on the PUP list. There were all these things. You lost Isaiah Rodgers, who was the first backup to Darius Slay. And even still, with all of that, you're looking at a defense that's top 10 in the NFL that shut down both the Cowboys and the Chiefs in the second half. They've given up a total of 7 second-half points. So the reason I feel better is I have confidence because I've seen it that these offensive weapons are going to deliver. And the defense is now showing you, hey, we haven't missed a beat.
If they have to beat Josh Allen, and they got to beat, they got to go beat Joe Burrow in shootouts, Jalen Hurts can do that.
Yeah, they showed it last
He's shown
year.
that he can do it. If he wants to put 40 up on Patrick Mahomes, he can do it. Or if they want to win a tight game in a phone booth, they can do it. So it was sort of said to me yesterday, just pump the brakes a little bit. And also, I will leave you with this. Just wait till Sunday. I mean, wait and see what you see Sunday. So there's a belief that things are coming. Just chill. And so I'm going to take it like that. And doing a little reconnaissance yesterday.
Coming up in about 10 minutes' time, we will have Tim McManus of ESPN breaking down the Birds and the Rams, talking about the matchup on Sunday. Now, something we updated you about in the NFL Notes at noon needs another update. Did you see the latest on Jaden Daniels?
I did. Ruled out.
He's out. No Jaden Daniels this weekend for the Commanders. So Marcus Mariota, the Raiders, in town, in Landover, Maryland. Very interesting. Very interesting. If you were someone, and I'm not saying I'm this person, but if you were someone that has the wins total over for the Raiders, not saying this is the worst thing. I hope Jaden Daniels feels better. But in terms of the division, no Jaden Daniels, maybe the Raiders steal one in Landover. Now, we got our own things to talk about. No own things we got to concern ourselves with here, with this weekend. And coming up, we got Tim McManus joining us from ESPN. A number of things to jump into today. He had a story out last night about the tush push, the way it'll be officiated. He had a story out today about the offense. And he spoke about that offense yesterday on Unfiltered. Here was his conversation about maybe not time to panic just yet.
They've only played 2 games, and they just went up against a Kansas City defense led by Steve Spagnuolo that blitzed Jalen Hurts over 65% of the time. And not only that, but they were bringing a lot of defensive back blitzes. It forced Hurts to get rid of the ball, which he did so effectively. He's got the second highest completion rate in the NFL through 2 weeks. And so that's a part of it when you have one game like that that could possibly be an outlier in the big picture. Another part of it, I think, is that you have a coordinator in Kevin Patullo that still is syncing up with Hurts, which Jalen talked about yesterday. And he basically said that it's a work in progress, talking about their chemistry, saying that the synchronization will get there and that it's important that it gets to that point so that there's not gray area. They're still working through it a little bit. So I think that's part of it as well. Just to say that there's some predictability that has settled in through 2 weeks, which you don't love. There has been maybe a lack of creativity in some of the passing concepts that you would like to develop over time. So a lot to clean up, but I definitely don't sit here panic. And I think it's way too early to be like, you know what, the offensive coordinator's no good, they're in trouble. Like, I think we need to give the season a little room to breathe here.
So you better believe when he joins us coming up in a couple minutes here, the first day I'm asking him, okay, out of that, what is the most real concern for you with this offense through 2 games? It's not time to panic. Panic is not yet there. Though people are throwing around comparisons to offensive coordinators going by that people didn't love, that were elevated from internally, it's not time to panic. But the first question there is, okay, for you, Tim McManus of ESPN, what is the biggest thing offensively that has you concerned right now through 2 games? What's the biggest thing that sticks out to you through 2 games? Now, on top, and when he says that, not time to panic yet, it's not necessarily time to panic at all, given what we saw last year, the way things can start out. But there are a few tendencies in this offense that have you concerned. He wrote something about that on ESPN that we will get to break down with you coming up when he joins us in the next segment. Also, of course, the update on what is happening with the Tush Push and your concerns about the Rams, because I've heard some of the insecurities. We're going to go over some of those insecurities about this matchup over the weekend with Tim McManus from ESPN coming up in the next segment. That's coming your way next. I'm Ray Dunn here on the Midday Show, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Dallas Goedert could return this week. I'm Sean Rodman, and Dallas Goedert was limited at yesterday's practice after he did not practice at all last week. Tanner McKee and Will Shipley were both limited as well yesterday, and after being limited on Wednesday, Jalen Carter was a full participant. The Eagles host the Rams in a playoff rematch at 1 on Sunday, and the Philadelphia Inquirer's Olivia Reiner joined the midday show yesterday, and she has one worry for the Birds' defense.
I think the big concern that I have is Stafford and this Eagles secondary. Even, up front, generating pressure on Matthew Stafford, too, is going to be critical.
Coming up next, ESPN's Tim McManus will join us to preview Eagles versus Rams, and the Phillies are back in action tonight in Arizona after the day off yesterday. Taijuan Walker gets the start for the Phillies, and he'll be piggybacked by Walker Buehler. This is to align the starters for the postseason and to see Buehler out of the bullpen. Ryan Nelson gets the start for the Diamondbacks tonight. First pitch is at 9:40. This update is brought to you by Bet365. Football is back. Get ready for the season at Bet365. When it comes to sportsbooks, Bet365 has it all. Download the app today and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I'm giving more credit to the architect. I'm giving more credit to Howie Roseman because I firmly believe that in 2023, when you saw that defense really struggle at linebacker, in the secondary at safety, James Bradbury fell off a cliff, I don't think it would have mattered who the defensive coordinator was. I don't think it would have mattered if Vic Fangio was here. They tried Sean Desai. They tried Matt Patricia. They had a significant lack of personnel that I think contributed to that being one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Then they hire Vic Fangio, and Fangio comes in here, and before the season, he was asked, what makes your defenses so good? And his response, good players. And you just look at Howie Roseman's last few drafts of defensive players. This time, he gives them Jahad Campbell and Drew Makuba. Last year, he gives them Quinyon, Cooper DeJean, Jalix Hunt. The year before, he gives them Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Morrow Ajomo in the 7th damn round. And the year before that, Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean. Not to mention the free agent signing of Zach Bond mixed in here. I'm giving him a majority of the credit. As good as Fangio is, and we love you, Vic, It's got to go to the architect.
I
Howie
think that's
Roseman.
cute on your part. That's really cute. Going right to the architect, your buddy, because he hangs out with you with your uncle. I think that's really cute.
Wait. People used to say Sirianni was my cousin. Now he's my uncle.
He's your uncle.
Now he's my uncle. I think we're the
They're
same
like,
age.
Yeah, I was going to say they're about the same age. That don't make any sense.
Okay, brother. How's that? Is brother better?
Yeah,
brother.
I'm actually Jay Sirianni.
I think the whole point is he's your interest. How's that?
Or
He's
you could
of
just
your
say
interest.
he is your family member.
Yes, family member. Good.
Interest sounds a little bit like romance related.
See, you love him. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Which is
make your
fine.
point. Make your
You go
point.
to Howie Roseman.
I
Okay,
think
fine.
He's hot. He's a good-looking guy.
Howie has drafted well. I don't take anything away from you. Let me bring up Zach Bond. Remember that guy came over? Outside linebacker, right? Am I right or wrong? Outside linebacker.
That one you got to give Fangio credit.
Outside linebacker who he made a standout star as a linebacker.
I'll give you that
inside
one.
linebacker, as a matter of fact. And who told us he was going to be inside? Vic Fangio did before even putting him on the field. Why? Because he looks at tape. He understands players. He knows where to put them. He knows where to put them in situations where they're going to do well. Oh, by the way, you drafted Cooper DeJean. You drafted Quinyon Mitchell. You're going to sit there and tell me when Howie drafted these guys that you said, those dudes are going to be starters this year. They're going to be unbelievable. They're going to be the best ever. Did you say that? Was that your thought process?
I was excited about him, but I did not expect him to acclimate this quickly.
So why?
Listen,
because
solid
it's on
coaching.
Howie. Because
Solid
Howie
coaching.
drafted them. They should be the best players in the world. Yes, it is solid coaching. As a matter of fact, Vic has a very good eye for his players. He understands where to put his players to make them the best at their possible positions. He understands how to get the most out of each and every one of his players. And you know what? He's not afraid of these players, which makes them respect him. It's Vic Fangio. It's his defense. It's the way he sorts these guys and puts them where they need to be.
I'm giving more credit to the architect. I'm giving more credit to Howie Roseman because I firmly believe that in 2023, when you
WP in HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities, getting you ready for Eagles and Rams on Sunday, a 1 o'clock game, which I believe I saw it was Jimmy Kempski tweet out 5 of the next 6 are 1 o'clock games. And I imagine for a number of reporters, that is a welcome sight in a season following a Super Bowl where you can expect a lot of primetime games. Getting some regular sleep and getting a regular Sunday schedule must be nice. I give that preface because we're headed to the Comcast Business Hotline to talk to my favorite from ESPN, man that covers the birds, Tim McManus. Tim, how are you today?
Ray, 1 o'clock at home on a sunny day against a good opponent. What else can you ask for?
You can't ask for much more, especially since the last time these two teams matched up, I imagine, 1, it was a chaotic day for you, but 2, the commute home could not have been fun.
Yeah, I mean, mostly what I remember is not the commute, but Saquon Barkley rumbling through the snow, smacking his helmet. That sticks out more than the commute, but yes, I'm sure you're right. It probably wasn't pretty.
No, it was not. I was down there in South Philadelphia for that day. It was not pretty for me getting home either, but I will tell you, I do remember a lot more of the smack of the head run through the snow than anything else in that game. And let's start with the story of the week locally. Offensively, this team, the lacking of explosive plays, the conversation about creativity. You wrote a great story for ESPN that I read earlier this morning about the offense, and we heard you yesterday on Filter talk about not to be panicked yet. But for you, what concern point that you've heard this week might carry the most weight when it comes to this Eagles offense?
Yeah, I mean, some of it's a little bit confounding. So you watched the Thursday night game between the Bills and the Dolphins last night, and it's like, why can't the Eagles offense just look like the Bills? right? I mean, they got this wonderful offensive line and these two superstar wide receivers in Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts, and why doesn't it look like that? So it is a little bit puzzling. I think it's also understandable given the fact that they are breaking in a new offensive coordinator, and one of the two games that are in the sample size are against Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs. And he ended up throwing, 65% of Jalen Hurts' dropbacks were against pressure. And I was talking with somebody in the locker room yesterday, and they suggested that Spags sent 15 cover zeros. So that's an all-out blitz. That's abnormal. And so if we're dissecting a passing attack and being like, man, why does it look like this? Is it really fair to do it, with like such conviction if you have to consider in the fact that they just played a very good Chiefs team on the road against one of the best DCs in the business, who just ended up going like even out of his norm and blitzing the hell out of Hurts. And so you have to also look at the fact of, all right, like that game took a specific shape, and so they got a little bit more conservative. Hurts was able to still connect when he was getting pressured. He's only been sacked 3 times despite being the 6th most blitz quarterback in the NFL. He's got the 2nd highest completion percentage in the entire league, and they don't have any turnovers. So there's like some positives that you can still glean. Now, the question, as A.J. Brown alluded to post-game, is it sustainable? I would say no to that. And, there's going to be games that take a different shape than the Chiefs game took. And I think that this week is where it starts. I mean, if you watch that Rams offense, they can be very explosive. And I think that the Eagles are going to have to keep up with them to a certain extent. And so it's just a matter of kind of, I remember Jalen Hurts last year being like, take the straight jacket off of me. It's like, it's one of those where if you're playing so conservative against every opponent, it's not going to end up good. So I think that you're going to have to loosen it up. And I think this is a perfect week to do so.
You mentioned talking to someone in the locker room about some of what they've faced. Obviously, this week locally, the offense has been a big talking point. Nationally, I can't turn on my TV without a tush-push conversation happening. How did they handle noise internally there at NovaCare early on in the season, just with the spotlight so much on the reigning Super Bowl champions?
Yeah, so, I mean, they're used to answering lots of questions from us, right? So I don't think that's too big of a deal for them, and they have put out their own thoughts on it, including like, well, people keep saying that we're lining up offsides, but watch what defenses are doing in the neutral zone. And so they've pushed back verbally on what's been sort of an onslaught that's come seemingly from all angles about tush push, and it can't be officiated anymore. And so, there has been that noise to deal with. But then I guess more pointedly about like what matters for them come Sundays is what the NFL told officials this week, and that was they sent a memo out to all 32 teams, and they basically said that officials are going to have to regulate this play tighter, and they sent examples where they did think that the Eagles were offsides. And so what you can expect this week is that there's going to be just Hawkeyes on this thing, man, where there's going to be flags flying. I think you have to kind of expect it. And so from the Eagles' perspective, they just have to. Their view is they have to be perfect with it. They know that the scrutiny is there. It's certainly not going to deter them from running it, but they realize that they're just going to have to be on their P's and Q's, make sure that they're not violating any rules because flags are coming.
And from the short yardage to, again, the general offensive conversation about explosive plays and generating them. A year ago, we remember Saquon running against the Rams, whether it was regular season, whether it was postseason. What have they seen in maybe the self-scout of their running game that has not yet opened up that big opportunity for Saquon to break one?
Yeah, I mean, understandably, they're getting heavy attention on Saquon. Over 80% of the times that he's running into loaded boxes, so that's 8 men plus in the box. They're getting a ton of that. And it would be nice if they could start opening it up down the field a little bit in the passing game to smooth some of that out for Barkley. But even when they do get these 8-man boxes, like I was talking to Mailata about this yesterday, he said that they do see opportunity in that because, and as Barkley demonstrated against the Rams in both occasions, like if you load the box up and they surface the blocks right, he's gone because there's nobody there that's in that back end that's going to be able to chase him down. And we saw that he racked up 460 yards in 2 games against the Rams last time, despite them putting heavy emphasis on that ground game. So I think what you're saying when you talk to the offensive linemen, they're saying, we're one block away, we're close, the scheme is there, and if just one person executes a little bit better, those big plays are going to pop. So that's their expectation, and if history holds, they'll be able to do it against the Rams.
From the offensive side of things to the defensive side of things, we're talking to Tim McManus here of ESPN on the Comcast Business Hotline. We asked today the question, what has you feeling insecure going into the weekend against the Rams? Because I've gotten the sense that there was a quiet confidence going into Kansas City, and now some people think, well, at some point they have to lose one game. And the one thing that keeps popping up, Adoree Jackson, that secondary against Matt Stafford. How do you think they will deploy their corners against two elite wide receivers and obviously a future Hall of Famer and a quarterback in Matthew Stafford?
So the complication of having two very good wide receivers opposite you is that you can't focus on one. And so with Quinion Mitchell, he was practicing during the summer, traveling with the top receiver, shadowing, and I think that does come into play at some point during this year. I'm just not positive this is the week to do it. Especially like Nakua, he's lining up all over the place. He's in the slot a bunch this year, and I don't know how much in the slot he's going to be in this particular matchup because, to your point, I think that they might want to try to exploit the Adoree Jackson matchup, but I don't know that it's a convenient time to be moving your cornerbacks around, which means you're just going to have to line up and play. And this is where Jackson is going to come under heavy scrutiny again. The first matchup against the Cowboys, when there was two good wide receivers on the field, the Eagles had problems in that secondary, and Jackson was exploited. He gave up over 100 yards. This past week against the Chiefs, they're down a couple of their top receivers. It's not as noticeable. And so here it comes. They're playing the Rams. I don't know that you're going to get a better 1-2 wide receiver duo to face all season long. The way that Vic Fangio put it was, he said that Jackson played better this past week against Kansas City, and he's hoping that sort of, thrusts him forward into being a better cornerback for them. But this is a huge test, man. I think that no matter how you slice it, this is going to be a very difficult matchup, and this is kind of the week that you're going to know, like, all right, is Jackson up for this, or is this going to be a problem? Sunday's going to help tell that tale.
I believe the phrase was kickstart him into being a good corner for us, which is not exactly the ringing endorsement you would want of a man out there getting ready to cover either Devontae Adams or Puka Nacua.
God bless Vic. He tells it like it is, and, I can understand why players who have played for him previously aren't always enamored by him because he's just so blunt. He's so blunt, and he's been that way with Jackson. Remember, like, he basically, I didn't, this was Howie's deal. Like,
yes,
this wasn't my signing, and we're going to see who he is or who he isn't. So he's never sugarcoated it with anybody. That's especially true with Adoree Jackson.
He is just a fantastic presser week in and week out. But take you to the defensive front. This is somewhere, at least in the interior of that defensive line, and obviously, you want to get pressure from every which way against Matthew Stafford, but at least the interior, it appears to be a place where the Birds could have an advantage in this one against the Rams.
Yeah, and one of their top guards in Avila has been dealing with an injury. We'll see whether he's available for this one or not, but I think either way, you like the matchup on the inside. Jalen Carter has got to get a little bit more consistency to his game. The fact that Fangio, again, the blunt Fangio, saying that Carter needs to get into better shape, a little bit of a eyebrow raiser there. There are some mitigating circumstances, like he had a shoulder injury. It prevented him from practicing that much in the summer, and yada, yada. But bottom line is he kind of called Carter out for needing to be in better shape, and so we need to see a little bit more of that. But we also saw the kind of impact that he can have. I mean, just think of really the game-saving plays that he had in the divisional matchup against the Rams, where they're going down the score, but he finds a way to get pressure on Stafford and sort of changes the whole trajectory of the Eagles season. What could have been a huge disappointment turns into a Super Bowl route. So we know the impact that he can have. And I'll also say that Jordan Davis, he deserves some credit because big question mark about him and whether he was going to take that step forward. They needed him to with the departure of Milton Williams. And at least through 2 games, he's been living up to what their expectation has been internally, that he was going to be in better shape, that he was slimmed down, he'd be able to get after the quarterback a little more while still being stout in the run game. And so far we've seen that. That's something that's going to be big for them in this matchup.
Something right there you touched on was just how blunt he was about Jalen Carter being in shape. And I guess internally, is it more belief that it was mitigating factors that kept him out of shape, or is there something more to that he just brought that up in a press conference?
I think it's a combination of, okay, he had the shoulder injury, and then Fangio loves to get this in whenever he can. They don't practice. They need to practice more, so he used that as a way to wedge that in. And also, he missed the first game. And so a lot of these guys, especially if you're having a little bit lighter of a training camp where you're trying to take care of these guys' bodies because they are coming off of that long season, some of these guys are playing their way into shape maybe more than they would in other circumstances. And if you're Carter and you spit on Dak Prescott and you miss the entire first game against the Cowboys, you're going to be a week behind. So I think it's a combination of those things. Like, I haven't picked up where he is just not putting in the effort. Like I haven't heard that kind of stuff. I think it's more just circumstantial at this point.
Yeah, a little bit of this is the way things are going on right now. And also Fangio, also in that presser, mentioned that he doesn't think the acclimation period is anything that means anything anymore after watching Zadarius Smith in his first game. I did catch that. He's also against that.
Yeah, he finds he's pretty economical with his words, but he he manages to say a lot despite that. And he got that in as well. I thought, Zadarius Smith was huge for them. They didn't have any sacks in that opener against the Cowboys, and then he comes in and has an instant impact. And I think that he's going to be pretty critical for them. They need to have, especially if they lose BJ, they lose Josh Sweat, and while it's been encouraging what Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt have done in their early careers, at least what they did last year. You're going to need other people to come in and make an impact. And so I think Smith, a really nice pickup for them.
And real quick, on top of that, what does he mean to them as a leader in that room? Because we could talk about what they need as a rotational edge rusher, but just a young defense getting someone that's experienced the game the way he has. What does he mean to that group as a leader?
Yeah, well, it's hard to come in and be a leader right away. He is in Brandon Graham's locker, so that's kind of sacred ground there internally here. But obviously Graham was here forever and earned that over time. Whereas if you're just coming in, it's late in the season, you've only been here for a week, it's not like you can take on instant leadership, but he does have wisdom. He does have knowledge. And the way that he carries himself, from what I've observed so far, he's got a lighthearted spirit to him. I think all those things can be beneficial when you're in the throes of a season that gets pretty intense. To your point, it's a young group that they're working with. So I think that him having that knowledge and having a way to help set the tone is going to be key for them.
All right, Tim, you know how we're going to wrap this one up. How you feeling about this game on Sunday?
So I'm leaning Rams in this one. And, obviously we've seen what Sirianni has done against McVay. He's been perfect against them. Fangio has, also had his way against McVay-led teams. And we saw what Saquon Barkley did last year. So I'm certainly not saying that there isn't a recipe for this Eagles team to get to 3-0. One of the best teams in the league. We know what they're capable of. Very possible they end up just continuing what they do, which is win. The reason why I'm leaning Rams in this one is, number one, I think the Rams are a really good team. And they've shown defensively they only given up one passing touchdown so far, where that's kind of supposed to be their weakness. Their edge rushers are two of the best in the business. They're young and they're developing. They're getting even better. Byron Young in particular has looked awesome in the first couple games here of the regular season. And their offense is further along than the Eagles is right now. I don't know what other way to say it. The Eagles offense just doesn't look great. Maybe that changes. Maybe this is the week where they get right, and if so, I think that's great for Eagles fans. But I guess I'm leaning LA because I've seen it with my own eyes that their offense is in a good spot along with their defense, and so I think it might take a little time for this Eagles team to round into full form. I think they'll be fine, but for this week, I have a slight edge towards LA.
Wow, all right. So going with the Rams' first loss of the season for the Birds this weekend. Tim, look forward to talking to you on the pregame show. Maybe we'll see if 48 hours changes the way you're thinking, but you seem pretty set on this Rams pick. I'll talk to you then. Thanks again for joining us here on the Midday Show.
Well, you have to stay tuned. Tune into that one during the pregame. Look forward to it, Ray.
Look forward to it, Tim. Tim McManus of ESPN joining us here on the Comcast Business Hotline. We'll talk to him again on the pregame show leading into that game on Sunday. But, ooh, man, two Eagles reporters, back-to-back days, both picking the Rams. How do you feel about it? We'll react to it coming up. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through the Midday Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas, and Connor Thomas.
I'm giving more credit to the architect. I'm giving more credit to Howie Roseman because I firmly believe that in 2023, when you saw that defense really struggle at linebacker, in the secondary at safety, James Bradbury fell off a cliff, I don't think it would have mattered who the defensive coordinator was. I don't think it would have mattered if Vic Fangio was here. They tried Sean Desai. They tried Matt Patricia. They had a significant lack of personnel that I think contributed to that being one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Then they hire Vic Fangio, and Fangio comes in here, and before the season, he was asked, what makes your defenses so good? And his response, good players. And you just look at Howie Roseman's last few drafts of defensive players. This time, he gives them Jahad Campbell and Drew Makuba. Last year, he gives them Quinyon, Cooper DeJean, Jalix Hunt. The year before, he gives them Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Moro Ajomo in the 7th damn round. And the year before that, Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean. Not to mention the free agent signing of Zach Bond mixed in here. I'm giving him a majority of the credit. As good as Fangio is, and we love you, Vic, it's got to go to the architect.
I think that's cute on your part. That's really cute. Going right to the architect, your buddy, because he hangs out with you, with your uncle. I think that's really cute.
Wait. People used to say Sirianni was my cousin. Now he's my uncle.
He's your uncle.
Now he's my uncle. I think we're the same age.
Yeah, I was going to say they're about the same age. That don't make any sense.
Okay, brother. How's that? Is brother better?
Yeah, I'm actually Jay Sirianni.
I think the whole point is he's your interest. How's that?
Or
he's
you could
of
just
your
say
interest.
he is your family member.
Yes, family member. Good.
Interest sounds a little bit like romance related.
See, you love him. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Which is
make your
fine.
point. Make your
You
point.
go to Howie Roseman. Okay, fine.
He's a good-looking guy.
Howie has drafted well. I don't take anything away from you. Let me bring up Zach Bond. Remember that guy came over? Outside linebacker, right? Am I right or wrong? Outside linebacker.
That one you got to give Fangio credit.
Outside linebacker who he made a standout star as a linebacker.
I'll give
inside
you that one.
linebacker, as a matter of fact. And who told us he was going to be inside? Vic Fangio did before even putting him on the field. Why? Because he looks at tape. He understands players. He knows where to put them. He knows where to put them in situations where they're going to do well. Oh, by the way, you drafted Cooper DeJean. You drafted Quinyon Mitchell. You're going to sit there and tell me when Howie drafted these guys that you said, those dudes are going to be starters this year. They're going to be unbelievable. They're going to be the best ever. Did you say that? Was that your thought process?
I was excited about him, but I did not expect him to acclimate this quickly.
So why?
Listen,
because it's on
coaching.
Howie. Because
solid
Howie
coaching.
drafted them. They should be the best players in the world. Yes, it is solid coaching. As a matter of fact, Vic has a very good eye for his players. He understands where to put his players to make them the best at their possible positions. He understands how to get the most out of each and every one of his players. And you know what? He's not afraid of these players, which makes them respect him. It's Vic Fangio. It's his defense. It's the way he sorts these guys and puts them where they need to be.
The Fanatic, Sean Rodman. We got to react to back-to-back days of Eagles reporters telling us the Eagles are going to lose. But first, a shout-out here. Because, sometimes I'll take shots at the show that follows us. Every once in a while, I'll take a shot at the old Ricky's Radio Show that comes up after us, which is what we're officially calling it. I don't know if you caught it. Tom McCarthy called it Ricky's Radio Show on the Phillies broadcast.
I did.
That's officially what we're going with, Ricky's Radio Show. But I'm going to give credit to one Ricky Batalico. You remember earlier in this show, I just mentioned that, I saw Neil was going to go get himself a cheesesteak at the YouTube chat, and I was a little hungry. Ricky comes in, he's like, hey, man, I got some extra chicken nuggets in the back there. If you want to have a couple here, just to help you out. That's a good guy right there.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people see Ricky Batalico after, the Phillies blow a game, and he's ready to just run out of the bullpen himself. Or just run out in the field and yell at someone for doing something wrong. It's not the kind-hearted Ricky Batalico that we know here.
Yeah, it's not a lot of people get to see that side of Ricky at times, and I'm glad you were able to shine that light on him.
Yeah, I just want a behind-the-scenes look at Ricky Batalico.
He did something very nice for you. Got you some chicken nuggets.
Everyone's in a good mood. Team's 2-0. But apparently going to be 2-1. So we played the audio in the first hour of the show from Olivia Reiner yesterday, talking about how this Eagles team was going to lose. And that the Rams were well positioned with Matthew Stafford to take advantage of the weaknesses of that Eagles defense and, what they have in the receivers, and just kind of laid out how they were going to lose. Tim McManus, I think if you go back and look at the video, my eyes lit up. He says he's going to take the Rams too. Am I wrong to not feel confident in this game? Now that I got smart people telling me that I should feel insecure about this game. I was listening to Salciunas this morning. He's all insecure about the game. Olivia's telling me they're going to lose. Tim McManus is telling me they're going to lose. Sean Rodman, do you think they're going to lose?
See, when I heard both of them, it wasn't necessarily that the alarm bells rung. It kind of gave me more so the confirmation to what I've been thinking. And I don't feel too good about this matchup either.
What is going on around here?
I don't. It's like, especially the secondary and Adoree Jackson. I mean, I think that there are a couple plays, even if you highlight some of the safeties, like Drew Makuba, he's made a couple of really nice plays.
The interception definitely overtook some bad plays he had in that game.
Right, and I think that some blown coverages or missed coverages, I think, could be an issue, especially against a quarterback like Matthew Stafford and two receivers in Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams.
Wow. All right, so I might be standing out on an island of confidence here.
Yeah, I think so.
I just look at what they've been able to do to them in the past, and what I understand. It's a new year. There's new players out there. I just think that the Fangio discipline against the McVay offense is there. It's something that's been proven real. It's not just like it was proven real last year. It's something that's been documented in the league since 2018. Even before that, probably 2016, 17, 18. Through the years, it's been proven to be better part of almost a decade now, which makes me feel good about this. And they've been able to succeed. Now, last year, obviously, running the ball was the big deal with Saquon against them, but they've been able to generate explosive plays against this Rams defense. They've gotten better as a defense, but not to the point where I think I'm losing my mind over it. I think it's going to be a close game, but now I got all the smart people in my life and you telling me that this is going to be, that I should be more concerned, that I should be more upset over what could potentially happen on Sunday. I'm not sitting here feeling that way about it.
So you're saying that not even the Rams, whether it's their defensive line, could get after Jalen Hurts?
Well, they could. They absolutely could get it. I'm not telling you that there's no chance they lose this game. I'm not guarantee, but I feel good.
I mean, one area you could highlight, too, that I think the Eagles could definitely have success is on the outside with A.J. Brown versus Manuel Forbes Jr. I mean, that's been highlighted this week a couple of times. I don't feel confident that I don't feel confident the Eagles are going to cover at all. I don't know if they're going to win or lose quite yet. I'm leaning towards them losing right now because of some of those issues in the secondary specifically. But I think it's a close enough game where it could go either way. And I mean, you heard a couple. We mentioned it earlier in the show. Time of possession has been a key factor for the Eagles so far this year. And if they're able to dictate the time of possession, hold on to that ball, wear out that defense for the Rams, that could be a very big.
I thought you were going to say if the Rams are able to. I was going to say how many teams have been able to dictate that against the Eagles?
Not many.
Not many. I mean, especially when you play as conservative as they do offensively. If you just slowly move the ball, you're taking time off the clock. Now, something we talked about earlier this week that has come back to my brain after we talked about the Rams playoff game. Big thing that was the difference in that game. Give that to you coming up. On top of this, we will have our official picks for the game. Also, my plays for the weekend. I've got 3 of them. I was 1 for 2 last week. They are made to fade. I am not good at this. And I want your predictions for this game. Get in at 610-632-0975. Text us in a score and a reason why you're going with that score. We'll go through all of those coming up. Final 2 segments for us here on the Midday Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Dallas Goedert could return this week. I'm Sean Rodman, and Dallas Goedert logged another limited practice yesterday after he was limited on Wednesday as well. After he missed week 2 against the Chiefs, Tanner McKee and Will Shipley were both limited at practice yesterday as well. And after being limited on Wednesday, Jalen Carter was a full participant yesterday at yesterday's practice. The Eagles host the Rams in a playoff rematch at 1 o'clock on Sunday. The Philadelphia Inquirer's Olivia Rayner joined the midday show, and she has one worry about the Birds' defense.
I think the big concern that I have is Stafford and this Eagles secondary. Even, up front, generating pressure on Matthew Stafford, too, is going to be critical.
And ESPN's Tim McManus joined us just a moment ago at the top of the 1 o'clock hour, and he shared that same sentiment. That'll be podcasted on 975thefanatic.com for you to listen to. And the Phillies are back in action tonight in Arizona after the day off yesterday. Taijuan Walker gets a start for the Phils. He'll be piggybacked by Walker Buehler. This is to align the starters for the postseason and to see Buehler out of the bullpen. Ryan Nelson's scheduled to start for the Diamondbacks tonight. First pitch is at 9:40. And this update is brought to you by Bet365. Football is back. Get ready for the season at Bet365. When it comes to sportsbooks, Bet365 has it all. Download the app today and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I'm giving more credit to the architect. I'm giving more credit to Howie Roseman because I firmly believe that in 2023, when you saw that defense really struggle at linebacker, in the secondary at safety, James Bradbury fell off a cliff, I don't think it would have mattered who the defensive coordinator was. I don't think it would have mattered if Vic Fangio was here. They tried Sean Desai. They tried Matt Patricia. They had a significant lack of personnel that I think contributed to that being one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Then they hire Vic Fangio, and Fangio comes in here, and before the season, he was asked, what makes your defenses so good? And his response, good players. And you just look at Howie Roseman's last few drafts of defensive players. This time, he gives them Jahad Campbell and Drew Makuba. Last year, he gives them Quinyon, Cooper DeJean, Jalix Hunt. The year before, he gives them Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Morrow Ajomo in the 7th damn round. And the year before that, Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean. Not to mention the free agent signing of Zach Bond mixed in here. I'm giving him a majority of the credit. As good as Fangio is, and we love you, Vic, it's got to go to the architect.
I think that's cute on your part. That's really cute. Going right to the architect, your buddy, because he hangs out with you, with your uncle. I think that's really cute.
Wait. People used to say Sirianni was my cousin. Now he's my uncle.
He's your uncle.
Now he's my uncle. I think we're the same age.
Yeah, I was going to say they're about the same age. That don't make any sense.
Okay, brother. How's that? Is brother better?
Yeah, I'm actually Jay Sirianni.
I think the whole point is he's your interest. How's that?
Or
he's
you could
of
just
your
say
interest.
he is your family member.
Yes, family member. Good.
Interest sounds a little bit like romance related.
See, you love him. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Which is
make your
fine.
point. Make your
You go
point.
to Howie Roseman. Okay, fine.
He's a good-looking guy.
Howie has drafted well. I don't take anything away from you. Let me bring up Zach Bond. Remember that guy came over? Outside linebacker, right? Am I right or wrong? Outside linebacker.
That one you got to give Fangio credit.
Outside linebacker who he made a standout star as a linebacker.
I'll give you that
inside linebacker, as a matter of fact. And who told us he was going to be inside? Vic Fangio did before even putting him on the field. Why? Because he looks at tape. He understands players. He knows where to put them. He knows where to put them in situations where they're going to do well. Oh, by the way, you drafted Cooper DeJean. You drafted Quinyon Mitchell. You're going to sit there and tell me when Howie drafted these guys that you said, those dudes are going to be starters this year. They're going to be unbelievable. They're going to be the best ever. Did you say that? Was that your thought process?
I was excited about him, but I did not expect him to acclimate this quickly.
So why?
Listen,
because it's on
coaching.
Howie. Because Howie drafted them, they should be the best players in the world. Yes, it is solid coaching. As a matter of fact, Vic has a very good eye for his players. He understands where to put his players to make them the best at their possible positions. He understands how to get the most out of each and every one of his players. And you know what? He's not afraid of these players, which makes them respect him. It's Vic Fangio. It's his defense. It's the way he sorts these guys and puts them where they need to be.
I'm giving more credit to the architect. I'm giving more credit to Howie Roseman because I firmly believe that in 2023, when you saw that defense really struggle at linebacker, in the secondary at safety, James Bradbury fell off a cliff, I don't think it would have mattered who the defensive coordinator was. I don't think it would have mattered if Vic Fangio was here. They tried Sean Desai. They tried Matt Patricia. They had a significant lack of personnel that I think contributed to that being one of the worst defenses in the NFL.
YouTube chat now, too. I'm right down here on the Midday Show, 97.5 The Fanatic. First, it was Salciunas this morning. Well, actually, first it was Olivia Reiner yesterday, who joined us in the 1 o'clock hour to talk about the Eagles, covers the Eagles for the Philadelphia Inquirer, who said, I feel like it's a Rams win. Then I hear Salciunas this morning. And then we get Tim McManus. And then Sean Rodman. And then we get the YouTube chat. And I've lost everyone. All of a sudden, all of the confidence, all of the good feeling about this 2-0 football team going into a rematch with a team that they beat not once but twice last year. Now all of a sudden, I'm the outsider here. I'm the outsider. I'm the one that believes they're going to win the game. And that leads us into our prediction segment. All right? So first, we're going to go with Ray's plays. All right? So we're going to start with the three that are my picks outside of the Eagles game. And then we'll get to our two picks. We'll start with Rob, and then I'll give my pick for the weekend for this game. I went 1-2 last week. Full transparency on my picks. This segment was not designed because I believe I'm giving you winners. This segment was designed to keep me honest with how bad I'm losing. That's what this was about. This was a segment about accountability, Sean Rodman. This was a segment about, hey, as much as you watch, as much as you consume, you still might be bad at this.
Hey, we like accountability on this show. That's what we strive for.
This segment reads kind of like a gambling ad disclaimer. Please bet responsibly. All right? This is what this is about. I went 1-2 last week. The pick that Rodman felt the most insecure about that I made. Insecure would be the good word. You thought it was the most outlandish of any pick you'd ever heard. You criticized me.
All right,
you mocked me. You laughed at me. I'll go pull the tapes.
Yeah.
That was the one that won.
Well, I also told you that Jackson Smith and Jigba, I thought was the play there, also hit.
Yeah, okay.
So we both won in that regard.
That's fine. Did my bet hit or not?
That one did.
It did. Okay. So Cooper Kupp over 3.5, over 4.5 receptions. I forget what it was last week. It was so good that it just hit, and I didn't have to worry about whatever it was. That hit last week.
3.5.
3.5. Over 3.5 receptions hit last week. That was a good pick for me. The Cowboys felt like a good pick at -4.5 last week. Did not hit. They just decided not to play defense. And then the Cardinals -6.5 over the Panthers last week did not hit. They were in great position. Backdoor Bryce, brutal. Bryce Young, backdoor cover for the Panthers in that game. So those two lines did not hit. If you notice one thing about my picks this week, I am not touching a single spread because of what I had to deal with last week. I am going with a pair of props and an over-under for Ray's plays this week. Again, this is made to fade. You hear me make these picks, I am not doing well. So that's the disclaimer here. We're going to start. Texans, Jaguars. Over-under's 44.5. Not that high of a number. I don't care. I don't trust the Texans to put up points, but I trust the Texans defense to keep points off the board. I think they're playing a very low-scoring game in that one. Texans, Jaguars, I'm taking the under 44.5 in that game. I think that game is going to be a low-scoring affair. I think it's going to be a back and forth in which maybe we're talking about like 17-14, maybe like 20-17. Not at all a high-scoring affair in that game. The Jaguars are not going against the Bengals defense. They're going against a real defense. And the Texans, I don't see them putting up a ton of points. I think they still have a lot to figure out with what they're doing offensively. I think that's going to be a low-scoring one.
Yeah, I don't hate that one at all. Not something that I was necessarily looking at this weekend, but might have to take a peek at it a little bit more there.
I feel like it's going to be a low-scoring game. So that's the first one. Two props for you this weekend that I like. We talked earlier about, do you root for Carson Wentz this weekend? I am not. Not that I'm rooting against him, but I'm not rooting for him. I will say I'm rooting for him to throw a lot to his tight end. Something historically we know here in Philadelphia he will do. looking at the matchup that the Bengals have had with tight ends so far this season, the targets have been there. The yardage hasn't quite been there against them, but the targets have been there with quarterbacks that aren't as set on throwing the tight end as we've seen Carson Wentz through his career. Yes, he's got a wonderful, wonderful high-end wide receiver in Justin Jefferson. However, T.J. Hockenson, over 3.5 for the receptions in this game. I think that he will receive. They've allowed, in terms of targets to tight ends, somewhere in the 5, 6, 7 range the first 2 weeks of the season. When it comes to that Bengals defense, I don't believe in that Bengals defense, and I believe in the ability of Carson to find his tight end whenever he needs to get out of trouble. I think that this is at least 4 receptions for T.J. Hockenson. I'm going to over 3.5.
Yeah, I actually don't. If it's over 3.5, I don't hate that number at all. I don't mind it. You mentioned the Zach Ertz connection that he's had with Carson Wentz over the years. I would have to be a little bit intrigued to look at what the number is for Justin Jefferson. I know the over 72.5 is a bit enticing.
Yeah.
It's a little high for me, I think, just because I don't know how well Carson will do. But his receptions is over and is 5.5. I think Justin Jefferson at least gets 7, 8 targets. It's just converting on those targets too. So don't mind that one. Don't think I mind the Justin Jefferson play either in that one.
All right. Last one for you. Bijan Robinson, Falcons, going up against the Panthers. I think the Falcons are going to get an early lead in this one. I think they're going to be able to run on the Panthers late in that game. Panthers go back to week 1. ETN had, I think, 140 yards rushing against them. You also look at the matchups last season. Well over 250 yards for Bijan Robinson in the 2 matchups against the Panthers a season ago. Robinson, obviously not consistent in back-to-back weeks to open up this season, but we've seen him have a big week already this year. I'm looking for another big week. 81.5 is the over-under for his rushing. I'm going to take the over in an early season bet of the over for Bijan Robinson before I think the books adjust and push that up further later this season.
I love it. Love it at 81.5. I mean, he just had a good game the other week too. I like Bijan Robinson a lot. I think he's one of the better backs in the league, and especially against that Panthers defense. I don't blame you going for that at all.
So the 3 picks for this week, you can fade him at your own risk. Under 44.5, Houston, Jacksonville. T.J. Hockenson over 3.5 receptions, 81.5 rushing yards for Bijan Robinson. I'll be able to track those for you, and we'll be honest with you with what happens. All right, let's get the Eagles picks in here. Sean Rodman, what do you have happening in the game on Sunday?
Yeah, I think I'm leaning Rams right now in this one, and I'm thinking it's.
Don't be a coward. Tell us your pick.
I will, and it's gonna be the Rams. I think the Rams are gonna pull out this one. It's gonna be close. I think it's gonna be an entertaining game. I just think that there's gonna be some things on offense that aren't clicking that we've seen now through 6 quarters in a row here that are going to be a little bit concerning still on Monday. And that's kind of why I'm leaning towards the Rams at this point, as well as the question marks in the secondary still. And right now I'm going 23-20 Rams over the Eagles.
Wow. Sean Robbins says, bleep you, Philadelphia. I'm going with L.A. I love Hollywood. That's brutal from you. That's a tough look for you. I don't love it from you, Sean Rodman. I'm taking
have to
the
be
Birds.
honest with the people.
I know that's okay. I'm taking the Birds in this one. I've got the Eagles in this one this weekend. I had that originally in the W's and L's. I respect what the Rams are in terms of a good team. I do believe that there is a bit of the mystique of Vic Fangio over Sean McVay and the ability in game for him to adjust against Sean McVay. And for all the play caller that he's been, he has not been able to figure out Vic Fangio, that is, throughout his entire career. And offensively, what you have with the Eagles, they've won 2 games without figuring it out. I think they can figure it out against this Rams defense, especially if the Rams are going to sell out to stop the run, if the Rams are going to sell out to blitz Hurts, Emmanuel Forbes, A.J. Brown, at some point, the dam is going to break. At some point, the dam is going to break here for A.J. Brown. And I'm willing to bet that either it breaks this week for Barkley or Brown. You're 2-0 with that not happening yet. I don't necessarily think it takes a genius play caller to put those 2 guys in a position to succeed against a banged-up secondary for the Rams, where if you sell out to stop the run, which you did last year unsuccessfully against Saquon, then you get A.J. Brown one-on-one opportunities. If you don't sell out to stop the run, well, hey, there's Saquon Barkley. I think the multitude of ways that they could beat you takes over in this game. Give me an Eagles win over the Rams. I will take the final score here to be 24-17. Still plenty of conversation about where this offense is at. And I think the way that the Eagles play the possession game does not allow the Rams to be able to put up that big point total coming up this weekend. 610-632-0975. We're going to go through your predictions in our final segment. run through what you think is going to happen in this game on Sunday. Eagles, Rams, our final thoughts coming up on the other side. I'm Ray Dunn. This is Middays, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Start your morning off right with some coffee.
All right, so our first question for DeCecco here comes from Colin from Philly, and he says, how do you think the Eagles will try to match up with the Rams wide receivers? Will they let Quinyon Mitchell travel against their number one or keep him on one side?
Yeah, I don't think you can travel with this team because they move around so much. So that was something that I looked at going into this and how they utilize Puka and Devontae Adams. And Tutu Atwell, by the way, is a really good vertical threat, undersized receiver who can beat you deep if you kind of sleep on them. But, yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to be afforded that luxury this week.
All right, what else we got?
All right, this texter asks, after watching how open some of the Chiefs receivers were, do you think the Eagles defense will be able to cover down the middle of the field against the Rams?
Yeah, good question. I mean, the Chiefs receivers didn't get, they didn't really uncover as well as you might think.
There was the collision course play, but
and then the one where Thornton won on the 49-yarder. But I think they should be able to cover up the middle of the field. Zach Bond and Jihad Campbell have done a really good job of plastering that second level. And Drew Makuba, I think, the rookie who had the interception that led to the turn in the game that John talked about yesterday. Yes. I do believe that he's continuing to build off of each game and get better the more he plays. So he's playing with a lot of confidence right now as well.
Take us back, your thoughts on the Thornton play. Just summarize it for people. I had a couple people asking here about how did you consider that bad coverage? I didn't.
No. Quinyon, it looked like Quinyon had to get back over, and he still almost made the play.
Correct.
But it just goes to show you, and that's why I wasn't overly as confident in the Eagles being able to pull that one off, because you have to account for Patrick Mahomes and being able to make things happen.
Sure. All right, what else we got?
All right, we have a check-in here from John in Allentown who asks, we know there's a question about the route tree for receivers, but what are you seeing specifically with the concepts? Too basic, too long developing? What's your take on that?
I love that question.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think they're
That's
a little bit...
guy.
Great question.
I think right now they're a little bit more on the basic side, a little simplistic, but they were designed for Jalen to get the ball out of his hands based on the pressure that they were facing at the line of scrimmage. I think that's going to change moving forward. Now, the Rams do have a fast-flowing defense with a lot of younger players like Jared Verse, and they have Fisk and Byron Young. So that's something that to keep an eye on.
Who was that, Connor? Did that person put it down?
That was John in Allentown.
John in Allentown. Notice he saves that text for Ask Football Guy Andrew DeCecco.
I appreciate the question, John. Thanks.
He didn't send it at 6 a.m. to us.
It's amazing. We have an Andrew and a John on the show, but
he
Andrew
saves that,
DeCecco's
yeah.
football guy. That's football guy John on the text line.
That's
All right,
amazing.
We got time for one more. What we got?
All right, so Joe checks in. Joe from Schwenksville, one of our winners of the Wendy's gift card.
Wow, good job,
What's up, 7
Joe?
o'clock hour. And he has a question as well. He wants to know if you thought that the Eagles were being too careful in their game planning against the Chiefs to just try and cut down turnovers, and that could have led to the offensive unproduction.
Yeah, Joe, it looked that way to me. And again, when you're in that kind of environment, it's Kevin Patullo's first game on the road calling plays. The Eagles were the better team. At that point, you don't want to, you become a little bit more risk averse. So, yeah, I think that had a lot to do with it.
Here on 97.5 The Fanatic, we have your text, your previews of the game. Sean Rodman decided to throw all of you to the side and say, screw you, Philadelphia. I'm taking the Rams. I can't believe he did it. He's not the only one to do it on these airwaves this week. It just felt bold for him to just start with the screw you, Philadelphia. Felt like a lot.
All right, we don't have to embellish it more and more each time.
I'm not embellishing anything. That's what I heard.
Well, get your ears checked.
I was at the doctor's this morning, sir.
Yeah, I don't think they did a good enough job checking.
Oh, man, my hamstring still hurts. I'm in a lot of pain. Sorry. For those that missed it this week, pulled the hamstring. I'm getting old, is what I'm saying. It's not looking good for me. I'm not able to run. I actually, that courtesy thing when you're walking across the street, but like it's a pretty wide street. You want to like jog across the intersection. You feel bad. Like the person's letting you go and you're like, you take that like courtesy little jog to get moving across the street. You ever do that?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Are you that type of guy?
It depends what kind of mood I am.
No. You're going to wait. You're going to sit there on my time.
No, because I hate when people do it.
I have the right of way. Now, let's all be honest with ourselves. Nobody is the same as they are behind the wheel as they are as a pedestrian. Your expectation for the pedestrian is to yield to what you want as the driver, and as the driver, the expectation, of course, for the pedestrian is for them to yield to what you want. Like, there's always back and forth. If you're the pedestrian, you want it your way. If you're the driver, you want it your way. We all are selfish. There is no like, oh yeah, but if I was the driver, I would understand type thing. We're all very selfish when it comes to crossing the street. You seem to be, I'm going to take my time and walk across.
No, I don't think I'm that slow of a walker. So if it's just me, like I'm going to try to get out of the way for them to go. But if it's a group of people, I'm going to take my time.
Fair. It was just me. So I was trying to get across the street, and I went to go pick up for a little jog, and then I was forgot that happened the other night. And that's bad. Because you think about it, the courtesy jog is not really a jog at all. It's really just you making it appear like your legs are moving faster when you're still probably going about the same speed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not good for my leg to still hurt at that point. But I'm glad that we found out that you're a rude pedestrian and you picked against the Birds this weekend. What do we got on the text line in terms of the way people picked for this game this weekend? Eagles, Rams, 1 o'clock.
We have some mixed reviews, actually.
Really?
Yeah, we have Nate and Malvern checking in, says, Rams win by 3. If not for the snow we lose last year in the playoffs because the Elliott missed extra point, our offense is not good enough yet.
Wow. All right.
Next up, no name on this one. We have a confident Eagles win, 31-20. Eagles will open up the passing game this week when the Rams commit to stopping Saquon. Defense will bottle up the Rams enough for a comfortable win.
I really don't see either of these teams getting to 30.
I don't see them getting to 30.
Just with the way the Eagles' offense has played so far and with their ability to control the clock, I just don't see a world in which now, if the Eagles have a very uncharacteristic game, turning the ball over, everything goes to the opposite way. Like, then we could start talking about that. But I don't really think either of these teams get to 30 in this game. This might be one of the games that I talked about the under in Houston, Jacksonville is something I'd take this week. The under might not be the worst play, but I think it would get too close for comfort for me. I'd be flirting with that line too much for me to feel comfortable with it. 31 would be great. If they score 31 Monday, I'm going to be in a really, really good mood. We're going to have a really fun we always have fun shows, but we're going to have a really fun show, I feel like, on Monday. Like, oh, yeah, guess who's back? Back again. Don't think about the Bucks at the end of the week. All right, keep going. What do you got?
All right, next up, we have another person checking in, says, I get the Eagles have a hole at number cornerback 2, but this is a team game. The Eagles have shown you nothing against the Rams except dominance. This team has shown you over the last 3 to 4 years with this core that they can simply not lose games if they just don't beat themselves. Going with the Eagles in this one.
All right. So that's 2 for the Eagles right there, 1 for the Rams. You have the Rams. I have the Eagles. Tim McManus has the Rams. Olivia Reiner has the Rams. Do we have enough text to counteract? Are we going to be at just a Rams-filled show for the end here?
No, we have another Eagles text. Michael from Fort Worth says, Eagles win because of the offense, and Barkley will carve up the Rams defense for another 200-plus yards again. The Birds will win this by a score 30-20, and the Rams get a late score to make the score a little closer.
Oh, wow. So really a blowout.
Yeah, cover, backdoor. Well, I guess it wouldn't be a cover, but a late touchdown.
Yeah, late touchdown just to make it look respectable. Wow. Speaking of looking respectable, a guy that just always looks respectable, who's hanging out on the line right now at 610-632-0975 out in Westchester, our friend Uncle Frank. Uncle Frank, how are you today?
Thank you for those kind words, and I concur. Happy Pleasant Friday, Swab. Right, you're too young to pull a hammy. How did you do it?
I thought I was too young, too. I'll be honest with you. I thought I was too young for that to happen. I stretched out for first base in a softball game, and next thing you know, I was grabbing at my hammy. I don't know what happened.
You did stretch. Okay.
Well, no. Before the game, I didn't stretch. Let's be honest.
No,
with
he
ourselves.
didn't.
No, I didn't. Oh, I was saying I was stretching for first, as in I was running down the first base line trying to get the first. Yeah. No, I didn't stretch. No, I'm 25, Uncle Frank.
Yeah, I get it. Guys, regarding the tush push conversation, in the words of the immortal Yogi Berra, deja vu all over again. It's just so. Look. Selfishly, we want them. Let's just have them go crazy with it all year because this is probably the final year, and I'm setting the flag over under on that play at 1.5
for this week.
It's going to go. Yeah, I think it's going to go. I'm thinking 2, but anyway.
So yeah, I mean, I think it depends how much. Do we think they're going to run it 7 times again this week? Like I would think that. I might be betting an under there with you just because I don't know how many times they're going to run it.
Yeah, I mean, they know everyone, the whole league's looking at
Yeah, they got the eyes
them.
on it.
They got the eyes. Nick may lose his mind on the sidelines, but...
yeah, after all that talk today about respecting refs, I'll be really interested to see if that holds by 4:30 on Sunday.
Good point. Now, how about those fightings, huh?
Oh,
since the What?
I'm fired up. I'm fired up over the fightings.
Listen, since the beginning of sports history, when a team puts their injured stars on their backs and carries them, it leads to good things. They had no reason to win that game the other night after clinching, but I mean, everyone at different times contributes.
It's incredible.
I feel good about this. I feel good about this postseason. I see signs that I think will get them to the apex.
Oh, we got an Uncle Frank apex conversation there about this team going to the mountaintop. Finishing our Football Friday with a little fightins. We got about 5 minutes of fightins in today, which was about what's right for Eagles-Rams rematch this weekend. Uncle Frank, very high on the team. I'll be honest, like, you've listened to me all week.
Yes.
Yeah, I've thrown caution to the wind. I'm ready to get hurt again. Kevin Cooney, congrats. Take your victory lap. You were right. They were going to do it to me somehow. I still don't think there was anyone that thought they were going to go this good at the end of the season.
No, you know who actually joined your side now, too, and is all in? Did you hear yesterday? On Unfiltered?
Oh,
Billy
no.
C.
No.
Bill Colarulo all the way bought back in.
No.
Says they're going to the World Series and everything.
All right. Well, never mind. Parade's off. Well, that was fun. I believed in them, and then I heard Billy C did, and that's it.
That's it? That's all it takes?
That did it for me.
I didn't mean to do that to you.
Yeah, you did. You did. You've had
I didn't do it.
Quite a show today.
Bill did it. I just thought you wanted to hear the news.
Yeah. No, I heard the news.
I thought you're a good friend, Bill. That would help you and believe even more.
Yeah. I heard them yesterday doing the which unit has to step up more, the Eagles offense or the Eagles defense. Like, which one do you think needs to have the bigger day coming up this week? And he was talking about the Eagles defense, and like I'm just so predisposed to disagree with him. Like, I'm driving home yesterday, and I was headed to go get my hair cut, which thank you for complimenting it. I really appreciate it. It was very kind of you to say you noticed I got my hair cut.
Well, I asked. I didn't necessarily compliment it.
No, I appreciate you complimenting it. It was very nice of you. I look at least half a decade younger.
Sure.
I definitely do. I look like I've looked at the YouTube. I'm like, oh my gosh, they've got a high schooler that just grew a beard that's hosting the show right now. Like, I was like, geez, I look a lot younger. I was told by an old friend of ours that I aged like a president, which was tough to hear over the last 2 weeks. And I guess given the hamstring injury, maybe I have aged like a president. But I'm driving home to get the haircut, go home for the night. I'm listening to them have that conversation, the back and forth with Billy C. and Ricky and Silvana over the idea of where the offense and the defense need to have a big one. And there's just, I don't know what it is, a part of my brain that's like, as Bill's explaining something, like, well, you're not considering this, Bill. You're not getting it. You know, this offense needs to have a day. All right, I understand you're all Fangio pilled up, but this offense needs to have a day. And let's be honest with you, to me, it's not so much the passing game hasn't been there. It's the explosive plays that haven't been there. They need explosive plays against the Rams. That's been the difference against the Rams. I mentioned earlier the thing that was the difference in the game against the Rams. We talked earlier this week about those possessions in the mid to late portions of the fourth quarter where they haven't gotten anything. Against the Cowboys, they had the 6-play, 16-yard drive. Against the Chiefs, like the 3-and-out. Those, like, about 5 minutes left of the game drives that you need to sustain. Last year in that game against the Rams, what'd you get? You got the Saquon Barkley when you didn't even need to sustain that drive and put you in the driver's seat to win that game. That, to me, is the difference of the first two games, what you haven't gotten. One, explosive plays, but two, that game-clinching drive to close things out. You haven't gotten that. You've had to rely on that very close one-score defense. Now, ultimately, Eagles did get the ball back again in that divisional round. It didn't go so great. Could have used another first down there. But it ended up being enough to get you over the top. They need that again. They need that from their offense. They need the explosive plays from their offense. So I was listening to him yesterday, and for anyone that doesn't think that those of us that sit in these chairs continue debating once we're off the air, you're kidding yourself, because I was in my car alone debating back at him.
Some people would probably ask if you're okay after that.
No, I actually, one of the great stories that, and this will be really quick because we got to get out of here. I was in Ole Miss the 2023 season, and I was working on middays at the time. Salciunas and Albert at the time did a whole show on like whether you were over the Super Bowl loss, and they were both, I think, over it. And I was walking the campus of Ole Miss before a game day, talking to myself on the phone. I had someone come up to me, ask me if I was okay. That's the level of debate that I'll get into when I hear something on these airwaves that I don't agree with. I'm talking it out to myself. I got issues. You know who doesn't? The Eagles. They're winning this weekend. Go Birds. Go Phillies. Everyone have a great weekend. Sean Robin, thanks for producing the show. Look forward to talking to you all next week. I'm Ray Dunn. Talk to you again real soon right here. 97.5 The Fanatic.